Chapter 649. The reason why the old tree demon Gui Shanyu would suppress the Een fire tribulation was that he did not have the confidence to cross the tribulation. He cultivated by himself, and sometimes he was not very clear about the level of his cultivation base. He never thought about what it meant to suppress more than a dozen Een fire tribulations. In addition, the old tree demon was a wood attribute. Although the fire did not directly subdue wood, it had a fatal damage to the wood attribute. Therefore, even when he was crossing the tribulation in Meiqing Mountain, Gui Shanyu was still a little guilty. If Yang Chen hadn't given him the clone secret art and transformation secret art, he would still not be so confident. Now, Wang Yong was completely different. The surging momentum and the constant provocation of the tribulation directly reflected that his confidence had burst to the extreme. The tribulation was now not a tribulation for Wang Yong, but a sledgehammer, an anvil to temper himself, which could only make himself stronger. The third and fourth tribulation. Every time an Een fire tribulation came, even if the crowd was far away, they could perceive the confidence and assurance that Wang Yong showed. This confidence not only made Wang Yong feel relaxed when dealing with the tribulation, but it even affected all the cultivators within 100 miles. At this moment, all the cultivators felt the positive confidence and the heroic spirit of never giving up. It was not known how many people had felt that they could not see the road ahead clearly. They had been lost and confused, but at this moment, they suddenly had a thorough understanding. Compared with Wang Yong's tribulation, what difficulties and obstacles they had encountered before, what cultivation bottlenecks, almost all of them had become illusory. Countless cultivators at this moment suddenly put down the knot that had been entangled in their hearts for a long time. They were enlightened, their thoughts were clear, and even the spiritual power in their bodies began to stir. Within 100 miles, the inner mountain gate of Chunyang Palace was completely covered, and this area was an area where people from other sects and row cultivators could not enter without an invitation. The impact of Wang Yong's momentum made all the inner mountain disciples of Chunyang Palace unknowingly undergo a spiritual baptism. But the tribulation did not end here, and it still fell step by step. The 5th, 6th, 7th. At the time of the 7th Een fire tribulation, the master of the palace had to retreat a few feet again so that he could safely bear the superposition of the Een fire tribulation and Wang Yong's flames. At this time, whether it was the power of the tribulation or the power of Wang Yong's flame, in short, the stronger it was, the happier the head of the palace and the elders were. The stronger it was, the higher Wang Yong's cultivation base would be. If this were to continue, Wang Yong's success in transcending the tribulation was a sure thing. Just when the elders were looking forward to the birth of the second master of the Deshang stage, and other cultivators who were affected by Wang Yong's momentum were enjoying the process of being full of confidence, suddenly the scene changed. The 8th Een fire tribulation was normal, but the 9th one suddenly surged several times. The violent process was like a pot of boiling oil that had been simmering over a fire. Suddenly, a torch was thrown into the pot. Hong! Wang Yong's surroundings suddenly turned into a huge field of fire. Countless bright flames directly lit up all the thick fog, and even the haze was burned away by the sudden flames without a trace. The fastest reaction was the old tree demon, almost instantaneously flew back hundreds of feet, directly out of the scope of the fire. The master of the palace was not slow either. At the moment of receiving the warning of the old tree demon, he also retreated and went directly behind the old tree demon. Within the range of hundreds of feet, it was all tumbling flames. This was a new fire seed that was mixed with the flames in Wang Yong's body. In just a moment, it spread into a huge flame ball. Yang Chen felt a familiar taste from the flame this time, and after a little thought, he understood. This kind of flame was clearly the Qilin fire. However, slightly different from the ordinary Qilin fire. The flame of the third fire was mixed with the smell of 9th water, so that Yang Chen did not recognize it first. This was the harvest that Yang Chen brought to the ancestors' Qilin horn. The dual attribute Qilin horn was not only successfully refined by Wang Yong into his life source flying sword, but also absorbed the flame in it, turning it into this unique Chilean water fire, reaching the power of the 6th grade fire seed. Everyone was in fear and didn't know what happened. All the cultivators within the range of Meiqing Mountain were feeling the spiritual power fluctuations of Wang Yong's tribulation. Suddenly, they found that there was a huge burning sun over Meiqing Mountain. For a time, countless exclamations rose and fell one after another. Everyone was staring at the huge fireball and pointing at it. What the hell was going on? Did he fail to cross the tribulation? Or did he succeed? Just as they were feeling bewildered, they suddenly heard Wang Yong's laughter that was filled with confidence and joy. Ha ha! A long laugh almost challenged the limit of everyone's curiosity. Everyone couldn't wait to know the result, but the laughter lasted for a long time. After half an incense stick of time, there was no sign of stopping. However, the meaning of the incomparable confidence in the smile was still appreciated by everyone. In the huge fireball, there was still such confidence, so the confidence of the cultivators of Chunyang Palace had reached the highest. Finally, the laughter stopped, and then everyone saw a scene that they would never forget. The huge fireball suddenly began to sink towards the center, and a piercing sound of wind rang in everyone's ears. In the strong whistling sound, the fireball was suddenly blown away and turned into a thick cloud of fire. Then, the cloud of fire turned into a thin and long fire silk and flew in one direction. The end of the fire silk stopped in the mouth of Wang Yong, who was floating in the air. At this moment, Wang Yong was like sucking something delicious, swallowing the fire silk into his mouth. The flames in the sky were getting less and less, and finally, all of them were swallowed by Wang Yong. Then, the smoke and fog dissipated, the clouds were dispelled, and everything in the sky returned to normal. Wang Yong, who had absorbed all the fire clouds, laughed again, shook his body, and disappeared without a trace. But this last laugh, in the hearts of the inner sect disciples, seemed to be enlightened and entered their sea of consciousness. Everyone couldn't help but have an indelible mark in their sea of consciousness. The figure of Wang Yong's heroic laughter was firmly remembered in everyone's heart. No matter when, as long as they thought of the pride of this laughter, it seemed that all the hardships would be regarded as trivial. Even if there were many hardships in the future, it was just a whetstone for themselves. Chapter 650. Wang Yong's figure had now appeared beside the head of the palace and the elders. Although he did not straightforwardly announce that he had succeeded in crossing the tribulation, all those who noticed the spiritual power shock in the final process had already understood that Wang Yong was already a master of the Deshang stage. Countless spies in the range of Meiqing Mountain, rogue cultivators, after realizing this, almost used the fastest speed to spread the news. Chunyang Palace added a master of the Deshang stage, and it was also a master of the Deshang stage who was born and raised in Chunyang Palace. In the future, even if it was Taishaman, it would be impossible to send a master of the Deshang stage with more than a dozen Yuanying stage cultivators to oppress Chunyang Palace. Since then, the Puryong Palace as a second-rate sect could be pinched by others. The era has gone forever. Congratulations, Senior Brother Wang. Congratulations, Master Ancestor. A series of congratulations immediately appeared around Wang Yong. On everyone's face, there was uncontrollable joy. With the second master of the Deshang stage, it meant that even if he went out in the future, he could also straighten his back. Even if he met the cultivators of the first-class sects, he would not have to be careful and humble. Wang Yong succeeded in crossing the tribulation, and even his temperament had changed dramatically. There was no longer the kind of guilt in Yang Chen's memory of his previous life. He was full of self-confidence, but he was a lot calmer. Standing there, he was not angry like a towering mountain range, giving people a feeling of sturdiness and unsurmountable. Congratulations, congratulations. Wang Yong responded to everyone's congratulations, but he walked to the opposite side of the head of the palace and saluted the head of the palace as usual. Greetings, head of the palace. Senior brother is excused. The head of the palace was already trembling with excitement at the moment. When did Chunyang Palace have such a glorious moment? Who would have thought that under his leadership, it would flourish and flourish. Moreover, even if Wang Yong was promoted to the Deshang stage, he still respected him as always, which made the head of the palace feel emotional and difficult to calm down. Palace Master, Elders, Martial Ancestor, it's not convenient to speak here. Let's find another place. Everyone was very excited, and no one noticed that they were still in public. Yang Chun hurriedly reminded everyone when he saw that they were about to open up and talk freely. Everyone reacted, and the palace master waved his sleeves and sent everyone to the hall of the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's Cave. With the disappearance of the crowd, the large group of Jidan stage masters of Chunyang Palace reacted. One by one, like rabbits that had been shot by an arrow, they quickly rushed back to their residences. This time, not only did he watch the process of Hall Master Su Qingxin's tribulation at a close distance, but he was also fortunate to see the process of Elder Wang Yong's promotion to the Deshang stage. This kind of opportunity was simply smashed on the head by the sky. If the process of Hall Master Qiao Ming's tribulation 3 months ago was added, it could even be said that this group of Jidan stage masters who had been in the sect was smashed by a pure gold pie that fell from the sky. Being able to watch the ceremony of crossing the tribulation and forming the nascent soul had already given them a finishing touch to their cultivation. Now, there was the experience of Elder Wang Yong's tribulation. The kind of momentum, full of confidence, directly made everyone have a feeling of near madness. Whether it was the bottleneck or the difficulty they were facing, it was simply something that could be overcome with a gentle step. Even those cultivators who had no problems for the time being had a kind of understanding that the efficiency of the future would definitely be at least 5 points higher than before. Not to mention these Jidan stage masters, even those disciples in the foundation stage had the same feeling. No matter what kind of cultivation method they practiced, no matter what stage they were at now, it had a nearly efficient catalyst effect on their cultivation. Every inner sect disciple present had the urge to go into seclusion to cultivate. All of them hurriedly rushed back to their residences, gave instructions to their servants, and impatiently went into seclusion. At this time, if they didn't know how to digest these experiences, they would be fools. This kind of mood also existed among the elders and the head of the palace. However, their realms were high after all. The realm of the Yuanying stage ancestors was not what ordinary people could imagine. The situation of Elder Wang Yong's tribulation would certainly help them, but everyone's situation was different, and the situation of the tribulation would not be the same. What really had a great effect on them was the confidence that Elder Wang Yong's success in crossing the tribulation brought to them. For this point, as a Yuanying stage master, they were not in a hurry to retreat as long as they firmly believed in this. The elders knew more than ordinary cultivators. With such confidence, if coupled with the second-grade questioning inner heart pills, almost all the Yuanying stage elders had the confidence to attack the Deshang stage. At this point, even Su Qingxin, who had just crossed the tribulation and formed his nascent soul with the help of the thunder pomegranate, had this feeling. In the process of crossing the tribulation, Su Qingxin used the power of the thunder tribulation to almost sweep away the hidden injuries in his body caused by the wrong direction of his previous cultivation. Even if he started again from the early Yuanying stage, he had such confidence. The entire Chunyang Palace was in this situation of extreme self-confidence, so that when many people came to Meiqing Mountain to visit friends for a long time, they were told that the person they were going to visit was in retreat. In the year after Elder Wang Yong successfully crossed the tribulation, Chunyang Palace set a record for the largest number of people in collective retreat, which was unprecedented and unmatched. The head of the palace and the elders did not say anything more to Wang Yong at this time, and they didn't even need to say anything more. Wang Yong's promotion to the Deshang stage was the greatest contribution to Chunyang Palace. He didn't even have to do anything. He just needed to improve his own cultivation base. Wang Yong had been in retreat for decades, and there were many things that he was not very clear about. For this, it was enough for Yang Chen to explain. The head of the palace and other elders were also busy discussing the development direction of the sect in the future after there was one more Deshang stage and 2 Yuanying stage masters in the sect. In the same way, everyone must also start to consider the handling of the medicinal pills refined by Yang Chun. Although Yang Chen's medicinal pills were now his own, they were already closely related to the interests of the sect. If Chunyang Palace wanted to develop, sometimes it was inseparable from the support of Yang Chen's medicinal pills. In any case, the current Chunyang Palace had embarked on a road that was completely different from the memory of Yang Chen's previous life, and the road of this life was wider and brighter, allowing the disciples of Chunyang Palace to go further on this road. Chapter 651. Wang Yong did have a lot of things that he wanted to know, and Yang Chun was the best candidate to solve Wang Yong's doubts. Many things were directly participated in by Yang Chun. In terms of the degree of detail, except for the head of the palace, the other elders could not be compared with Yang Chun. Yang Chun introduced to the ancestor in detail what happened in these years of retreat. He was promoted to the Jiedan stage. His master and senior apprentice sister were also promoted to the Jiedan stage. The detonation of the Taishaman, Ming Guangrua, and Mao Qi came to denounce him, and so on. When he heard that the Taishaman suffered such a heavy blow, Wang Yong laughed happily. When he heard that Ming Guangrua came to bully them, Wang Yong's laughter had turned into a sneer. Don't worry, they will have a good look. After sneering, Wang Yong directly threw down a sentence. This account, sooner or later, will be settled. You continue. Next, naturally, Ming Guangrua and the others were squeezed by the words of the Lord of Tantai, leaving behind their life source magic weapons. As a result, Yang Chun erased the owner's consciousness of the flying sword, and they suffered a big loss. In this section, Wang Yong was of course happy. Yang Chun was his grand disciple. He destroyed tens of thousands of Taishaman's outer sect disciples, and also trapped a master of the Deshang stage, robbing people of their 15 life source magic weapons. This kind of thing was even more refreshing than him doing it himself. Later on, he went to the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave, bought cultivation methods, killed the second city lord, and got the monster race inheritance. These things, each of them made Wang Yong slightly nod, especially after hearing that he got the monster race inheritance, and that Yang Chun directly discussed with the head of the palace and the elders about taking down the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave. Wang Yong was stunned. He simply did not know how to describe his own grand disciple. He thought that Yang Chun was already a very troublesome person, but he still underestimated Yang Chun. Killing a master of the Deshang stage, and still intact, even a monster core was not damaged. Even if he was now a master of the Deshang stage, he did not dare to have such a guarantee. Yang Chun, a disciple in the early Jiedan stage, actually did it. The body of the second city master was placed in front of Wang Yong. The body of a master of the Deshang stage. If he wanted to refine a puppet of the Deshang stage, naturally he needed Wang Yong, a master of the Deshang stage. Although the old tree demon's cultivation base was higher, the old tree demon Gue, Shanyu himself, was also a monster race monster. If he was asked to refine the body of a monster race Deshang stage master as a puppet, there may be psychological resistance. Secondly, this was originally a life-saving magic treasure that Yang Chun had prepared for his master, Gao Yu. As Gao Yu's master, it was only right and proper for Wang Yong to lend a hand. After carefully examining the body of the second city lord, Wang Yongkai put away the body of the Deshang stage master. For Yang Chun to be willing to consider Gao Yu like this, Wang Yong knew it in his heart and did not hesitate to agree to help. The next thing was that Yang Chun went to the extreme north and accepted a genius disciple of the monster race, which made Wang Yong feel relieved. His own grand disciple actually had a disciple, then his own seniority was not higher. Wang Yong never doubted Yang Chen's vision. Since Yang Chun said that Mu Bo was a genius in cultivation, it would never be wrong. Now Wang Yong wanted to see his own great-grand disciple immediately and see what kind of talent he had. Finally, Yang Chun said what happened recently about the inner sensing pill. Hearing that Yang Chun had refined a new medicinal pill, and this second-grade inner sensing pill actually made the two masters of the Chunyang Palace trapped in the peak Jiedan stage cross their tribulation in just 3 months. Wang Yong almost jumped up in surprise. What medicinal pill? So powerful? Wang Yong directly extended his hand to Yang Chun. He wanted to see for himself what kind of medicinal pill this was. How could it be so powerful? If it could really make the masters of the peak Jidan stage form their nascent soul, wouldn't it be comparable to the high-level medicinal pill of the nascent soul formation pill? How could Yang Chun refuse the request of the master ancestor, the second-grade questioning inner heart pill, which was more advanced than the inner sensing pill? Yang Chun was open to the supply. How could he be stingy with a little inner sensing pill? He directly took out a first-grade inner sensing pill and a second-grade inner sensing pill and handed them to the hands of the master ancestor. After taking it, Wang Yong carefully observed the inner sensing pill. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed the first-grade inner sensing pill. He did not even set up a protective formation. The master ancestor was a master of the Deshang stage. Naturally, he would not care about the small side effects of the inner sensing pill. Yang Chun did not remind him. He just waited slowly. Soon, Wang Yong recovered from the experience of closing his eyes and opened his eyes. He seemed to be thinking about it. After a while, he directly took the second-grade inner sensing pill. This time, the time was shorter, but the master ancestor was sweating and soon opened his eyes. After thinking for a while, a smile appeared on his face. Good stuff. I thought I had been tempered by the Yin fire, and my chi and blood spirit power had already reached the Deshang stage. I didn't expect that there were still places that I didn't take care of. Good stuff. Almost directly opening his mouth was a compliment. Wang Yong was not stingy with his own grand disciple refining the medicinal pill. Wang Yong's words made Yang Chun surprised and happy. Originally, he thought that this medicinal pill had no effect on the masters of the Deshang stage, but he did not expect it to be able to help the master ancestor. This fully shows that in the early Deshang stage, the second-grade inner sensing pill can also be effective, which also means that the preciousness of the second-grade inner sensing pill has risen to another level. This is the pill recipe of the monster race. Others can also get it. Can they also refine it in the second grade? The first thing Wang Yong thought of was to ask Yang Chun if other alchemy masters could refine the second-grade inner sensing pill. To be honest, the first-grade inner sensing pill, even Su Qingxin couldn't help much. It could only let him have more reference and find out the problems of his previous cultivation. The second-grade inner sensing pill was the real medicinal pill. Wang Yong asked this because he wanted to know if this medicinal pill was an exclusive resource of Chunyang Palace. The refining of the second-grade inner sensing pill is definitely troublesome. Yang Chun had the most say on this matter. It requires the cooperation of multiple fire seeds, and it must also be controlled by several fifth-grade fire seeds at the same time. That is to say, it is not so easy for others to refine it. Wang Yong was also a fire cultivator, of course. He knew the difficulty of this. Several fifth-grade fire seeds were nothing for some big sects, but if they wanted to control several fifth-grade fire seeds at the same time, it was not an overnight effort. Even if there was a fire cultivator master alchemist who began to practice after knowing it, it was impossible to do it without decades or hundreds of years. Not everyone was like Yang Chun, who could have such an enchanting ability to control fire. Moreover, the general alchemist who started the second grade refining certainly did not know the key, which would take at least dozens of hundreds of years to study how to refine the inner sensing pill for the second grade refining. Coming and going meant that Chunyang Palace could enjoy the second grade inner sensing pill for at least 200 years. Chapter 652. Wang Yong was happy here, but Yang Chun still had things that made him upset. Very soon, Wang Yong realized this. Is there any trouble recently? As soon as he was promoted to the master of the Deshang stage, Wang Yong was extremely sensitive and immediately asked, "This disciple does have some troubles." Yang Chun did not hide it at all and directly replied, "Master, senior sister, and I have had a spiritual awareness double cultivation. Now fairy sure of the Green Jade Immortal Island and fairy son of the Blue Cloud sect. This disciple doesn't know how to treat them." What's so difficult about this? When Wang Yong heard it, he almost blurted out, "Cultivators do not have to be trapped by etiquette. If you have the heart, accept them all. If you don't, then refuse. Today, my Chunyang Palace is no longer the Chunyang Palace of the past, and you're not an insignificant disciple. Why bother with such things? These words had already explained Wang Yong's current confidence and state. In the end, it still depended on Yang Chen's own thoughts. Even if he refused Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue, the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect would not fall out with Chunyang Palace because of this matter. The current Chunyang Palace, as Wang Yong said, was no longer the Chunyang Palace of the past. The interests of the sect were no longer the shackles on Yang Chen, which made Yang Chen's choice more from his own heart. Wang Yong's words had completely expressed his attitude towards Yang Chen. As long as Yang Chen was willing, then he would fully support it. In the words, there was also a little bit of other content intentionally or unintentionally. It was not necessary to be trapped by etiquette. It seemed to be reminding Yang Chen that he did not have to care about the master and disciple status. There were many cultivators, and the master and disciple double cultivation did not start with Yang Chen and Gao Yu, nor would it end with them. Many times, cultivators would try their best to find a suitable Dao companion for double cultivation. In most cases, it was very normal to train one from scratch. Therefore, the master-disciple relationship would not be an obstacle between Yang Chen and Yu. If even Wang Yong didn't object, what reason and status did the others have to object? Don't worry about it. It was also the first time that Yang Chen had heard someone say this to him. He immediately felt as if the clouds had been dispelled and the sun had come out. However, he was still a little worried, and his question was also a little unconfident. Of course, Wang Yong chuckled. Today, who can stop you from doing what you want to do? A nascent soul stage master or a master of the Deshang stage? Unless these sects use all their strength, but just for a pair of master and disciple dual cultivation in my sect? Or did he have dual cultivation with the disciples of their sects? Or did they reject their disciples? Don't forget that Chunyang Palace has always been standing behind you. Although Yang Chen was still only a small Jidan stage master, a few Yuanying stage masters were not his opponents. Even if Yang Chen was willing, the masters of the Deshang stage would not necessarily be able to defeat Yang Chen. In this regard, whether it was Luo Yuan or the Second City Lord, they had already set an example. Do what you want to do, don't worry about anyone, anything. Wang Yong's voice seemed to come from the clouds and filled into the ears of Yang Chen. Don't say that you just have a few tricks on the Taishaman. Even if you break into the Taishaman's mountain gate tomorrow, there must be a sect behind you. Even if the whole army is wiped out, it will not matter. After being promoted to the Deshang stage, Wang Yong seemed to have figured out a lot of things and seen through a lot of things. Now that he had spoken, his words were filled with lofty sentiments. Yes, the voice of the head of the palace did not know when it sounded here. Yang Chen was fascinated at first and did not find the arrival of the head of the palace. When he heard the voice of the head of the palace, Yang Chen raised his head and looked at the head of the palace with surprise. The head of the palace nodded slightly to Wang Yong, then turned to Yang Chen and said with a smile, "Everything you do is for the sake of the sect. There is no reason for the sect not to support you. Fairy Sure of the Green Jade, Immortal Island, and Fairy Sun of the Blue Cloud sect. If you like them, you can accept them together. If you don't like them, you can reject them all. Don't consider other things." Yang Chen was in the situation, and he had no experience in dealing with feelings in his previous lives. But the words of Wang Yong and the head of the palace at the moment made him feel heroic. A man, if you want to do it, why think so much? The advice that Wang Yong gave him was not only on the emotional side, but also on daily behavior. The previous small conspiracies against the Taishaman were basically hidden in the dark, so that the Taishaman could not catch the handle. Speaking of it, it was not as good as a knife and spear in the face. With Yang Chen's mind, he was only worried about the power contrast between the Chunyang Palace and the Taishaman, and he was afraid to implicate the Chunyang Palace. However, Wang Yong let him know that the sect absolutely supported him, and the head of the palace also had the same idea. Needless to say, the other elders must also have the same idea. Yang Chen came from the Chunyang Palace, which could not be erased. Therefore, as long as Yang Chen had an accident, it would definitely be related to the Chunyang Palace. Yang Chun suddenly understood this, and the worries in his heart for a long time seemed to be thrown out of the clouds at once. His mood was relaxed, and the whole body was indescribably refreshed. Even the spiritual power seemed to be unfettered, and it swam freely in the body. The third fire, fourth fire, and first with spirit power that had already been condensed, the fifth earth true essence, seventh metal true essence, and 10th water true essence, the three most original spiritual powers, were surging and impacting. Yang Chun suddenly had a little enlightenment in his mind. It seemed that as long as he could get more 5th earth true essence, 7th metal true essence, or 10th water true essence like the first wood true essence, these three spiritual powers will be able to condense immediately. The 7th metal true essence left by jinxing must be seen. The 10th water true essence was also convenient. Just stay at the sea for a period of time, and the sea jasper cup would naturally be able to condense the 10th water true essence. At that time, there would be two more spiritual powers condensing. Maybe it would be able to drive all the spiritual powers to condense. Even Yang Chun did not expect that this consultation with Master Wang Yong would have such benefits. It was unexpected. When he silently controlled his spiritual power to calm down, he heard the master of the palace discussing the disposal of the second-grade inner sensing pill with Master Wang Yong. Since we can enjoy it alone, we can't let go of this kind of benefit. The master of the palace has already known the difficulty of refining the second-grade inner sensing pill from Master Wang Yong. If the master can crack it in 200 years, then we will take advantage of these 200 years to reap the greatest benefits. Even the second-grade questioning inner heart pill can be provided. This second-grade inner sensing pill can also be provided. The master of the palace seemed to have a draft in a flash. If you want it, it's easy. Bring something to exchange. Chapter 653. The second-grade questioning inner heart pills were provided to the Green Jade Immortal Island by Yang Chun and the master of the palace after a discussion. In a batch of first-grade questioning inner heart pills, 2 or 3 second-grade questioning inner heart pills were mixed with them. The first-grade questioning inner heart pills were already stunning. There is almost no need to ask how powerful the second-grade questioning inner heart pills would be. The Green Jade Immortal Island definitely regarded the 2 or 3 second-grade questioning inner heart pills as a treasure. As for Shi Shanshan's problem, Yang Chun was also drilling into a dead end. In fact, just looking at these second-grade questioning inner heart pills, what Yang Chun wanted, the Green Jade Immortal Island would not object. The treatment of a senior alchemist master was far from what Yang Chun thought. Of course, this was also related to his hiding in his previous life. He only knew that a senior alchemist master was very popular, but to what extent, he had not personally seen it. The sect set the strategy, and the next naturally began to implement it. However, this was not to let the disciples of Chunyang Palace shout loudly everywhere, but inadvertently, when a few close friends were chatting, they accidentally leaked it out. In this way, not only could people be credible, but there would be no suspicion of hype. Soon, someone accidentally revealed that 3 months ago, Xiao Ming of the Chunyang Palace's Fierce Yang Hall was at the door of Yang Chen's pill room to cross his tribulation and form his nascent soul. In the chat of another group of people, it was also revealed that Su Qingxin, the Foreign Affairs Hall Master of Chunyang Palace, who had not long ago formed his nascent soul, waited outside Yang Chen's pill room for a whole month. After Yang Chun came out, he began to cross his tribulation in the hinterland of Chunyang Palace. Both of them were related to Yang Chun, and the new Deshang stage elder Wang Yong and Yang Chun had a relationship with a grand disciple of the master ancestor. It must be because of the ability of the questioning inner heart pill that he was able to smoothly reach the Deshang stage. As a result, many sects began to pay more attention to Yang Chun. It was too extravagant to use the questioning inner heart pill to let the masters of the peak Jiedan stage form their nascent soul. Not to mention Chunyang Palace. Even the Green Jade Immortal Island and Taishaman were reluctant to do so. 10,000 years old elixir, it was not easy to get. Even if Yang Chun was blessed, it was impossible to have so many materials to refine the questioning inner heart pill. In that case, it can only be a new type of pill. Soon, people who had a good relationship with Chunyang Palace came to ask for details. At this time, Chunyang Palace seemed to realize that they could not keep this secret, so they told everyone that the reason why they could cross the tribulation and form their nascent soul was indeed because of a kind of elixir. As for the name of the medicinal pill, it was called the inner sensing pill. Since the name of the pill was known, there were immediately knowledgeable people who knew the origin of the pill. This was a type of pill of the demon race. Although the pill recipe was rare, it was not impossible to obtain. Of course, it was impossible to ask for the pill recipe from Chunyang Palace on the spot, but since there was a direction, it would not be wrong to find trouble with the demon race. In particular, some big sects had the pill recipe of this kind of medicinal pill in their hands. After hearing the news, they immediately began to experiment. The medicinal materials of the inner sensing pill were not rare medicinal materials. Although they all needed to be hundreds of years old, it was not difficult for many sections. The inner sensing pill of the demon race seemed to be very simple. But even so, it took half a year for Yang Chen's first time to successfully refine the first-grade inner sensing pill. Several sects that had the ability to refine immediately began the refining. The alchemist closed the alchemy, and others were waiting hard. Yang Chen would not care about these things. When the news of Wang Yong crossing the tribulation and reaching the Deshang stage came out, the entire cultivation world was in an uproar, and various sects came to congratulate him. This was different from when the old tree demon Gui Shanyu joined the sect. After all, the old tree demon was still a demon, but Wang Yong was a native disciple of Chunyang Palace, and he was also an elder. He was absolutely not ordinary. Moreover, after the questioning inner heart pill, it was not known how many people in Chunyang Palace wanted to flatter them. Such a ready-made opportunity was not delivered to the door. As long as it was a sect and a rogue cultivator who had various kinds of friendship with Chunyang Palace, they would use this excuse to congratulate them and get closer to Chunyang Palace. Not for anything else, but for one day, they might be able to exchange a questioning inner heart pill from Chunyang Palace at a high price. Yang Chun stayed in Chunyang Palace and did not go out. Wang Yong succeeded in crossing the tribulation. After his master Gao Yu heard about it, she would definitely come back. He was waiting quietly in the sect, and he would soon be able to see Gao Yu and his senior apprentice sister Gong Sunling. In addition, Sect Master Lu of Blue Cloud Sect said that he would visit Chunyang Palace after 3 years. Now there was only half a year left, and Yang Chun had to wait here for the reception. However, Yang Chun was not without anything to do. The remuneration sent by the Green Jade Immortal Island had already been handed over to Yang Chun. After the Green Jade Immortal Island got the questioning inner heart pill sent by Yang Chun, they were pleasantly surprised to find that there were 2 second-grade questioning inner heart pills. The first-grade questioning inner heart pill could already allow a master of the Deshang stage to directly break through the bottleneck of the middle stage. What could the second-grade questioning inner heart pill bring? This sudden surprise directly made the Lord of Tantai and the elders so surprised that they did not know how to express it. Based on Yang Chen's overfulfilled task, the conditions for the cooperation between the Green Jade Immortal Island and Chunyang Palace have also changed. Originally, the Green Jade Immortal Island intended to give more benefits to Chunyang Palace, but the master of the palace refused the kindness of the Green Jade Immortal Island. The agreed transaction could not be easily changed. This point won the favor of the Green Jade Immortal Island even more. Speaking of it, the master of the palace was also thanking the Lord of Tantai in disguise, because the last time the Lord of Tantai took the initiative to come forward and receive the Taishiman Ming Guangrao, otherwise Chunyang Palace would have suffered an insult at that time. And later, Ming Guangrua's life source magic weapon was robbed, and the Lord of Tantai also shared a lot of suspicion. However, this made the Green Jade Immortal Island look at Chunyang Palace in a different light. Based on Yang Chen's excess of the questioning inner heart pill, and Chunyang Palace did not accept the temporary change of conditions, so the benefits of these thanks all fell on Yang Chen. The Green Jade Immortal Island directly prepared the fire seeds and sent them to Chunyang Palace. Among them were 60 kinds of third-grade fire seeds, 15 kinds of 4th-grade fire seeds, and 2 kinds of item fire seeds. Compared with what was promised to Yangchen at that time, it was a full 50% more, and there was also a precious 5th-grade fire seed. As soon as Yangchen came back, he threw out the monster race's matter. The master of the palace forgot to hand over the things to Yangchen on the spot, and Yangchen immediately retreated for alchemy. Then it was Qiao Ming's tribulation. Then he retreated for alchemy, plus Su Qingxin and Wang Yang's tribulation. After being busy until this time, the master of the palace handed over the things to Yangchen. In the face of so many fire seeds, Yangchen couldn't help but sigh. The Green Jade Immortal Island was the Green Jade Immortal Island. In his previous life, Yangchen, for a 5th-grade fire seed of the true sun fire, he didn't know how much effort and how many hardships he had to go through to get it. Even Elder Wu Xiong, a master of the Deshang stage in this world, spent a few years to find the lunar true fire for He Lianyun, but the Green Jade Immortal Island took out 2 of them. The heritage of the sect could be seen. Chapter 654. After getting these fire seeds, Yangchen went directly back to his residence. Yangchen's small courtyard was full of spiritual power, but there was no servant to take care of it. Gao Yu directly sent her maid to help him take care of it on weekdays. Yangchen has been away for a long time. The small courtyard room was still clean and abnormal, and it was not ruined because of Yangchen's absence. After greeting the maid, Yangchen began to absorb these fire seeds one by one. The highest level of fire seed of the Yin-Yang Heaven-Burning Fire was now the 3rd grade, so Yangchen also started from the 3rd grade fire seed. Even with Yangchen's Yin-Yang Heaven-Burning Fire, it was not so easy to absorb the 3rd grade fire seed. Fortunately, the absorption process was completely automatic, and Yangchen did not need to worry too much. What Yangchen has to do now is to control the profound spirit furnace to absorb and store these fire seeds first. Although the Green Jade Immortal Island has preserved these fire seeds very well, Yangchen does not feel that it can make him feel more at ease than putting them in the profound spirit furnace. The profound spirit furnace has absorbed several kinds of 5th-grade fire seeds, and after merging with most of the cyan crystal profound gold, there's been a qualitative change. Similar to the nature of the Yin-Yang Heaven-Burning Fire, the more fire seeds it absorbs, the stronger the profound spirit furnace. The stronger the profound spirit furnace, the faster the speed of absorbing the fire seeds. Now absorbing the 3rd grade fire seeds was just as simple as absorbing the 1st grade fire seeds in the past. But even so, it took Yangchen at least 4 or 5 days to absorb a 3rd grade fire seed. Yangchen absorbed it for 2 months before he absorbed 15 of the 3rd grade fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace. There was still a long time to absorb all of them. On this day, Yangchen was controlling the absorption of one of the 3rd grade fire seeds. When it was about to be completed, his heart suddenly moved, and there was an inexplicable joy. This emotion came very suddenly, which made Yangchen very surprised. However, the joyful mood did not let him stop the work in his hands. He still steadily controlled the profound spirit furnace. After absorbing the 3rd grade fire seed that was being absorbed into the profound spirit furnace, he stood up and pondered what this inexplicable mood was all about. An inexplicable joy that appeared out of nowhere. Could it be an inner demon? Yangchen carefully went through it in his mind. In his memory, there was no danger of his cultivation going astray. Moreover, he only felt happy. Whether it was his spiritual power or divine sense, there was no change. It should not be a chi deviation. Soon, Yangchen suddenly realized that this feeling was the strongest when facing a certain direction. Yangchen couldn't help but move in his heart. The spiritual awareness of the peak early Deshang stage quickly expanded in that direction, and after a while, it reached 100 miles away. Forcibly suppressing the excitement, Yangchen urged his spiritual awareness to explore further in that direction. As a former great principal golden immortal, Yangchen also knew that the spiritual awareness was not omnipotent. Otherwise, Ming Guangruo would not find that his flying sword was wrong and could not detect any clues. However, after all, the the spiritual awareness was several times faster than the flying sword. In a short time, the spiritual awareness had reached 1,000 miles away and was out of the scope of Meiqing Mountain. This was not the limit of Yang Chen's spiritual awareness exploration. It must be known that Yang Chen's spiritual awareness was now in the form of a silk, leaving other directions aside. When he concentrated on a certain direction, it could even be 50% larger than the usual exploration range. After a stick of incense, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness finally reached the limit. 2,000 miles. This was the farthest distance that Yang Chen could explore now. In this direction, he could detect that a person was approaching this side quickly. After waiting for a while, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness explored the existence of that person. Seeing the familiar figure, Yang Chen almost cried out happily. That was his master Gao Yu, and there was another familiar shadow beside her, but it was his senior sister Gong Sunling. He didn't know why, but Yang Chen could feel the attraction of his master to himself, but he couldn't detect Gong Sunling. Gao Yu was obviously a little confused, but after entering the exploration range of Yang Chen's spiritual awareness, Yang Chen directly sent out a thought to his master, using the beast-controlling secret art. Master! In Gao Yu's mind, Yang Chen's voice suddenly sounded, making her overjoyed. Finally, she reacted in time. This was not Yang Chen talking next to her, so she did not ask where Yang Chen was. I am in the sex residence. Yang Chen's joyful voice was by no means faked, and it appeared in Gao Yu's mind again. Then, after a pause, Yang Chen suddenly said, I miss you, master. This time, Gao Yu blushed directly. She couldn't communicate directly with Yang Chen, without the means of Yang Chen's beast-controlling secret art, and without the communication ability of the monster race's soul. Gao Yu could only listen to Yang Chen's words, but could not respond. However, listening to Yang Chen's words, although Gao Yu was a little shy, her heart was very happy. She also felt strange. As soon as she passed a certain place, she felt as if there was something in front of her attracting her, and suddenly there was an inexplicable joy. It was precisely because of this that Gao Yu and Gong Sunling would speed back to the mountain, and unexpectedly heard Yang Chen's voice on the way. Does this mean that she and Yang Chen have an indescribable connection? Could it be that this is caused by the dual cultivation method? Gao Yu was not sure, because Gong Sunling did not seem to have any reaction. Senior sister, Yang Chen did not favor one over the other. After saying a few words to his master, he also sent his own greetings to Gong Sunling. Yang Chen, Gong Sunling was not as calm as Gao Yu, and called out directly. However, she immediately realized that she did not seem to see the shadow of Yang Chen. As soon as Gong Sunling spoke, Yang Chen heard it very clearly, and spiritual awareness could do this. This time, Yang Chen sent a sentence to his master and senior sister at the same time. Welcome back to the mountain. Listening to Gong Sunling's cry, Gao Yu also understood that this must be what Yang Chen and Gong Sunling also said. However, looking at Gong Sunling's surprised look, it did not seem that she had the same feeling as herself, and her heart was slightly relieved. She didn't know why she felt this way. Perhaps, returning to the mountain to see Yang Chen could explain all this. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling accelerated again and adjusted the flight speed of the flying sword to the highest, while Yang Chen had already driven the shuttle to fly over here. The speed of the shuttle was faster, and the two sides accelerated. In less than an hour, Yang Chen and his master and senior sister met in the middle. Without thinking about it, Yang Chen directly put both women into the shuttle, adjusted the direction of returning to Chunyang Palace, and let the shuttle fly. But he turned to his master and senior sister. I have been waiting for you for a long time, master, senior sister. Facing the two women, Yang Chen blurted out directly. Chapter 655. It has been more than 9 years since the last time he left Chunyang Palace and went to the 10,000 Trees Forest. Even Gao Yu and Gong Sunling went out to gain experience after consolidating their realm. If they hadn't heard that their master had crossed his tribulation, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling might have stayed outside for a while. When they first saw Yang Chen, the two women couldn't believe that Yang Chen could find their whereabouts at such a long distance. Especially Gong Sunling. She couldn't imagine it at all. Was Yang Chun always releasing his spiritual awareness to explore? This was not a good phenomenon. Exploring others at any time would be regarded as a provocation, unless the other party was a friend or relative. Gong Sunling certainly wouldn't think that Yang Chun was provoking herself. But what about others? Only Gao Yu slightly guessed some reasons, but she didn't say it. Between the two of them, they didn't know why, but there was an incomprehensible connection. As long as they were within a certain distance, they could detect the existence of each other. That inexplicable joy was produced because the two sides were close to each other. However, at this time, neither Yang Chun nor Gao Yu said anything in detail, but silently enjoyed the silent joy in their hearts. In fact, meeting again was a kind of happiness in itself. The two women heard that Wang Yong had crossed his tribulation and returned, and naturally they were more concerned about this aspect. Yang Chun would never hide this kind of thing from the two women. But after hearing that before Wang Yong crossed his tribulation, Xiao Ming and Su Qingxin each took a second-grade inner-sensing pill, which led to the tribulation and formed their nascent soul, the two women still couldn't suppress the exclamation. In just a few years, Yang Chun had made a kind of medicinal pill that allowed the Jiedan stage masters to ascend to the Yuanying stage. If it was spread out, it would definitely cause a sensation. Although the news was only circulating among a small number of people, the two women firmly believed that Yang Chun would definitely become a figure in the eye of the storm because of this new medicinal pill. In this regard, Yang Chun didn't care at all. What he cared about was the safe return of his master and his senior sister. After receiving pointers from Grandmaster Wang Yong, Yang Chun had many things to say to his master. The first thing they did when they returned to the sect was to visit Elder Wang Yong. This was the purpose of their return. As Wang Yong's disciple, Gao Yu easily saw Wang Yong, and of course, Gong Sunling was also by her side. After paying their respects to Wang Yong also gave Gao Yu and Gong Sunling a few words of encouragement before the two women returned. Gong Sunling was going to visit her master, and Yang Chun accompanied Gao Yu back to Gao Yu's small courtyard. Although there were thousands of words in her heart to ask Yang Chun, when things came to the point, Gao Yu found that when she was alone with Yang Chun, she couldn't say anything. Finally, there was only one sentence left. "How are you recently?" Yang Chun did not neglect, and directly according to Wang Yong's words, he talked about his experience after leaving Chunyang Palace. Of course, some things involving the secrets of the sect. Yang Chun was still cautious and did not say it, but the process was already quite thrilling, especially when he killed the second city lord to refine a flying puppet for Gao Yu, which made Gao Yu stunned. The body of a master of the Deshang stage, to refine a flying puppet for me? Gao Yu didn't know whether to be surprised or happy. Yang Chun had this heart. She was very happy, but for this he had to take the risk of challenging a master of the Deshang stage, which was by no means what Gao Yu was willing to see. I didn't provoke him, he chased after me, and this disciple could only kill him. Yang Chun explained. This disciple gave him 3 chances. He wanted to continue to chase me. If I don't kill him, this disciple will not be able to calm down. On this issue, Gao Yu did not say anything after all. First, Yang Chun did it for her. Second, Yang Chun won, came back alive, and brought back the body of the second city lord of the Deshang stage. Finally, he just left the sentence, "Don't take such risks in the future." Of course, Yang Chun nodded and agreed, and then continued to report to his master about Mu Bo hearing that she had become a master ancestor. Gao Yu also had a strange mood. In the same way, she never doubted Yang Chen's vision. She was more assured about Yang Chen's means of guiding his disciples, but like Wang Yong, she was curious to see what this grand disciple looked like. The trouble of asking Wang Yong for advice, of course, Yang Chun would not mention it to Gao Yu. After thinking about some things, Yang Chun understood that as a man, if he wanted his own happiness, he had to fight for it himself. The same was true for Gao Yu's feelings. He couldn't wait for Gao Yu to arrange it, nor could he wait for Gao Yu to find out and ask questions. The best way to deal with it was to take the initiative. "Master, although it is somewhat disrespectful, this disciple has figured it out. There are some words that this disciple must say." Seeing that Gao Yu's mood was still calm, Yang Chen quietly arranged a sound-blocking formation outside, and then said to Gao Yu. Looking at Yang Chen's serious words, Gao Yu seemed to realize something. Her head bowed slightly. She bit her teeth and asked softly, "What words?" "I like you, Master." Yang Chen did not hesitate this time. He spoke straightforwardly and said what he had been holding in his heart for a long time. In his previous life, he never said this sentence. In this life, he finally stood in front of his master and said this sentence aloud. Even if she had guessed that Yang Chen might say this, but when she really heard the words that Yang Chen said, Gao Yu was still in a trance. Her heart was already about to explode with joy, but there was still a voice in her mind that kept asking, "He is your disciple. What should I do? What should I do?" I know that this may be contrary to morality, but I understand that without you by my side, even if I become a great principal golden immortal and become the Jade Emperor, it will be the biggest regret in my life. Since he said those words, Yang Chen did not care to show his true feelings to his master. "I don't want my life to have this regret. Master, I like you." But, Gao Yu listened to Yang Chen's words, and tears appeared in her eyes. She didn't know if she was happy or anxious. She even said 2 words, but the words that followed could not be said. "I like you. I want to marry you as my wife." Yang Chen continued to say loudly, "I want you to be my wife." In the words, he originally claimed to be a disciple, but now Yang Chen also changed to me. "Your master ancestor will not agree." Gao Yu directly carried Wang Yong out. Her face was red, and her head almost lowered to her chest. "The master of the palace will not agree. Even if the entire heavenly court is against it, I will marry you as my wife." Yang Chen's voice had never been so firm. Master ancestor and the master of the palace, they did not object. Chapter 656. Gao Yu didn't know if she heard what Yang Chen said later, and she didn't even know if Yang Chen spoke again. She just heard that Yang Chen firmly said that he wanted to marry her, and then the head of the palace and Wang Yong did not object. She fell into a sluggish state. There was not much time to get along with Yang Chen. Corresponding to the nearly 100 years since Yang Chen's apprenticeship, the real time with Gao Yu was only about 10 years. Even if Yang Chen and Gao Yu Gong Sunling retreated together for 30 or 50 years, they only cultivated separately, and there was little time to chat and communicate. At most, it was Yang Chen who was cultivating, and Gao Yu Gong Sunling was on the side to protect him or change over. However, in this way, between Yang Chen and Gao Yu, there was still a kind of affection that was slowly growing and growing. This was a kind of feeling that had been separated from the relationship of master and apprentice, but the two did not find it at first. Yang Chen always thought that he was just grateful for the care of his master in his previous life, and for his gratitude that he would not hesitate to burn indiscriminately. But he did not expect that his previous life had been bitterly missed, and that kind of gratitude had already been replaced by another kind of feeling. Fortunately, Yang Chen figured it out in time at this time, and said it without affectation. As soon as the words came out, Yang Chen felt that the stone in his heart was really put down. Gao Yu was already happy and about to explode. How could she not know what Yang Chen did for her? He beheaded Chu Hong and saved her life in the 100,000 mountains. Because the other party hurt her, he did not hesitate to uproot the 100,000 mountains, one by one, which contained Yang Chen's heart for herself. Gao Yu was just hindered by the relationship between master and apprentice, and had never dared to make things clear. Later, she found that the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect were interested in winning her over, but she moved her own idea of quitting. Now Yang Chen said in front of her that he wanted to marry her. Gao Yu was happy to the limit. Her mind was blank, and she didn't even know how to answer. It was not until Gao Yu realized that her hand had been grabbed by Yang Chen that she woke up. For the first time, Yang Chen took the initiative to reach out and hold Gao Yu's little hand. Because of the yellow turban strongman body refining technique, his hand was more than twice as big as Gao Yu's, and his figure was huge, as if a big bully was pulling a woman. It was very funny. As soon as the two of them held hands, they suddenly felt connected. The joy in their hearts seemed to be connected. Without saying anything, they naturally knew what the other was thinking. Not knowing when, Gao Yu slowly leaned into the arms of Yang Chun. This was the first time that the two of them had such intimate contact outside of the spiritual awareness double cultivation. The wonderful taste was like drinking jade nectar, involuntarily intoxicated. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them was willing to speak. Gao Yu and Yang Chun just hugged each other and stood there quietly, enjoying this silent tacit understanding and joy. Gao Yu's heart had already flown into the air. She never thought that when she leaned in the arms of Yang Chun, it would feel so good. At this moment, she didn't want to have any master and disciple status. She was not Yang Chun's master, and Yang Chun was not her own disciple. He was just her lover. Even the best dream had a time to wake up. When Gao Yu woke up from intoxication, it was already 2 hours later. The two stood in each other's arms and stood for 2 hours. What about Fairy Shi and Fairy Sun? What about your senior sister? Waking up from the dream, the first thing Gao Yu thought of was the women who had a relationship with Yang Chun. Needless to say, Shi Shanshan and Yang Chun were already nominally dual cultivation Dao companions, and almost everyone knew it. Although Sun Qingxue did not have this reputation yet, the Blue Cloud sect had already made plans for it. Moreover, Sun Qingxue and Yang Chun did have some unclear involvement. Gong Sunling, needless to say, had already had a spiritual awareness dual cultivation with Yang Chun and helped Yang Chun solve the big problem. The little girl had long been secretly in love with Yang Chun. Even if Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue did not care, Gao Yu also had to speak for Gong Sunling. Yang Chun also fell into silence. He and these women were indeed somewhat entangled, and even he himself could not make a decision. Although Shi Shanshan was very unhappy with him at the beginning, the kind of silent, tacit understanding of fighting later was something that no one had ever had. The cold and unparalleled Fairy Shi would always show a smile in front of Yang Chun. Yang Chun even wanted to leave a share of the Four Seas mysterious coral liquid for Shi Shanshan, but he already had some concerns unconsciously. Sun Qingxue and Yang Chun met almost as early as Shi Shanshan. According to the clues in her memory, Yang Chun helped Sun Qingxue several times in a row. Coupled with a later experience together, it made Sun Qingxue unswervingly loyal to Yang Chun. Yang Chun also liked this murderous little girl in front of him, but she was cute and lovely. Yang Chun did not have to think about Gong Sunling anymore. There was already the fact of spiritual awareness dual cultivation, and Yang Chun would never let her down. What Yang Chun was most worried about before was Gao Yu's thoughts. Now that there were no obstacles between himself and Gao Yu, Yang Chun was relieved of his biggest heart. Gao Yu asked about other people, and Yang Chun had to consider it. I don't want to hide it from Master. As long as it is a man, he will fantasize about accepting the two fairies and senior sister. Now that his relationship with his master has been made clear, Yang Chun doesn't care about this. I am also a man, and I have such thoughts. But if Master doesn't like it, then don't mention it. In this world, it was common for men to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Yang Chun certainly fantasized about such a beautiful thing. No matter how many reasons there were, Yang Chun was not willing to make his master unhappy because of this. Here, Yang Chun still played a trick and threw the problem to his master. There was still a trace of fantasy in his heart. Whether it was the Cold Plum Fairy or the Dancing Snow Fairy, they were all famous figures in the world in the future. Because of this, it was something that Yang Chun did not want to see. The Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect, although they may not do anything to Chunyang Palace because of this, but their own genius disciple was rejected, there would always be some dissatisfaction. He had just expressed his feelings to his master, but he immediately confessed to his master that he had such fantasies. Yang Chun was also the first. It had to be said that even if Yang Chun wanted to understand more, in terms of feelings, he was still a rookie among rookies. Although Gao Yu put down her worries and was happy in her heart when she heard Yang Chun's words, she still had an idea to kick Yang Chun out. But when she thought about it, Yang Chun did not even hide this thought from her. It was better than those guys who did one thing to her face and another behind her back. Even Gao Yu herself probably didn't understand why when it came to Yang Chun. She would think about everything well. Chapter 657. Gao Yu would not immediately give Yang Chun a reply. Although she has accepted that she may be with Yang Chun in the future, many things need to be sorted out again. Of course, Yang Chun would not force Gao Yu, but said that Sect Master Lu of Blue Cloud Sect would visit Chunyang Palace in a few months. The contents of the transaction should be kept confidential, but for Gao Yu, Yang Chun did not hide anything. Hearing that Yang Chun still had a pile of fire seeds in his hands to absorb, Gao Yu also pressed down her thoughts and told Yang Chun to complete the matter as soon as possible. It was related to Yang Chun's cultivation base. If he absorbed one more fire seed, Yang Chun would be more powerful. Gao Yu would certainly pay attention to it. When the two met, there was not too much warmth, just a very simple hug. The two were connected, as if they had been together for 100 years. In fact, the two had known each other for 100 years. Yang Chun said what he wanted to say and got the results he wanted. Although the affairs of the other women have not been finalized for the time being, Yang Chun did not care at all. As long as his master agreed, then everything would be fine. Gao Yu was busy with something and did not say to Yang Chun. Yang Chun did not worry about it. Anyway, as long as it was in the sect, whatever Gao Yu wanted to do. Yang Chun himself began to be busy with the absorption of the fire seeds again. Only 15 of the 60 kinds of third-grade fire seeds were absorbed, and there were 45 of them. Each of them took 4 or 5 days, and it would take half a year to absorb all of them. The days seemed to be calculated. When Yang Chun absorbed all 60 kinds of third-grade fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace, it happened to be the time when the Blue Cloud Sect Master Lu agreed to visit. Sect Master Lu's visit this time was almost exactly the same as the last time the Green Jade Immortal Island came. Sect Master Lu himself, Elder Hua Wanting, plus Elder Shi Yinhe, plus Sun Qingxue, were also the sect master with 2 elders and disciples related to Yang Chun. This time, the sect master of Blue Cloud Sect did not hide the fact that he was coming. Anyway, the last time the Lord of Tantai came to discuss the marriage between Yang Chun and Shi Shanshan. This time, sect master Lu also came for the same reason. In the eyes of outsiders, their first reaction was that Blue Cloud Sect was trying to rope in Yang Chun. Over the past 6 months, the rumors about the inner sensing pill refined by Yang Chun had caused Xiao Ming and Su Qingxin to cross their tribulation and form their nascent soul had been widely spread. Coupled with the questioning inner heart pill, such a senior alchemist was something that almost all sect wanted to have. Even if they couldn't own it, many sect members were willing to build a good relationship with Chunyang Palace and Yang Chun. In addition to the 2 major sects of the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud Sect, which had already used the method of marriage with their own female disciples, other first-class sect, including Taishimen and 5 Element Sect, were also trying to get close to Chunyang Palace. In recent months, countless sect members came to Meiqing Mountain under the guise of congratulating Elder Wang Yong, tried to establish various cooperative relationships with Chunyang Palace. The head of the palace and several elders, plus all the people in the Foreign Affairs Hall, everyone was busy, and they were working hard to receive these cultivators. Yang Chun had already told Gao Yu about Sect Master Lu's intentions. Gao Yu was non-committal at the time, but when Sect Master Lu really came to Meiqing Mountain, Gao Yu still appeared in front of Yang Chun. If you want to accept Fairy Shi and Fairy Sun, you must accept Ling first. Gao Yu seemed to have been hiding from Yang Chun. The first sentence she said when she saw Yang Chun was this sentence. Listening to his master's words, Yang Chun couldn't believe his ears. He thought that his master would not agree, so Yang Chun has not thought much about other things. He just thought about how to give some compensation to the Blue Cloud Sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, so that Sun Qingxue and Shi Shanshan would not be sad. He did not expect his master to mean this. After Gao Yu finished, she did not give Yang Chun too many opportunities and left directly. Yang Chun was still stunned in the same place until Elder Su Qingxin personally came to find him to meet Sect Master Lu. Su Qingxin has become one of the elders since crossing his tribulation and forming his nascent soul. Now he still holds the position of the Foreign Affairs Hall Master. This time, when Sect Master Lu came to visit, he was one of the reception elders, but he personally came to call Yang Chun, which gave Yang Chun enough face. The details of the cooperation between the two sides have been communicated through Yang Chun once. and reaching an agreement was not a problem at all. Regarding the cooperation of the questioning inner heart pill, the head of the palace and several elders made a decision on the spot. The conditions were exactly the same as those of the Green Jade Immortal Island, and even the remuneration given to Yangchun was exactly the same. In the past 3 years, the Blue Cloud sect was collecting the elixirs needed to refine the questioning inner heart pill. It couldn't be helped that the big sect was a big sect. In just 3 years, they didn't know where they got the medicinal materials needed for the 2 furnaces of questioning inner heart pill. They directly brought it over and handed it over to the head of the palace. This cooperation was already a done deal, and there would be no more problems. However, Sect Master Liu still wanted to talk to Yang Chun personally. The Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, because they were both female-dominated sects, so their relationship was relatively close. This point could be seen from the fact that Shi Shanshan brought Sun Qingxue back, and Sun Qingxue eventually became a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect. The relationship between the 2 sects was not generally good. With this relationship, among the questioning inner heart pills that Yangchun gave to the Green Jade Immortal Island, there were several second-grade questioning inner heart pills. Naturally, it was not hidden from Sect Master Liu. The main purpose of Sect Master Liu's meeting with Yangchun was also this. She hoped that when Yangchun refined the medicinal pills for the Blue Cloud sect, he would not favor one and discriminate against the other, but also treat them equally. Of course, the words couldn't be said so straightforwardly, as long as the meaning was there. In addition to this point, Sect Master Liu had no other expression, but indicated that Yangchun could take Sun Qingxue to walk around the Chunyang Palace. Young people should talk more and communicate with each other. Yangchun was somewhat inexplicable. Calling him over for such a circle, just for this matter, it was really a bit of a fuss. But for the sake of Sun Qingxue, Yangchun certainly wouldn't say anything. After retreating to the elders, he left the hall with Sun Qingxue and returned to his residence. Sun Qingxue didn't say much along the way. When she arrived at Yangchun's place, she signaled Yangchun to arrange a soundproof restriction, and then said, "Big brother Yang, the sect master has prepared the reward for you in advance. You can put it away first." As she spoke, Sun Qingxue took out a lot of talismans wrapped in oil lamps, all of which were fire seeds. Interestingly, the number was the same as that of the Green Jade Immortal Island, but the type was different. All of them were increased by 50% on the original basis. It seemed that Yangchun could refine the second-grade questioning inner heart pill. Also, this is the special order of the sect master, saying that it must be given to you. Finally, Sun Qingxue took out a jade box and sent it to Yangchun's hand. Chapter 658. The jade box that Sun Qingxue took out, the jade quality was very good, white and flawless, warm and delicate. There was nothing on it. It was flat and slippery, but the box was closed so tightly that the naked eye couldn't even see the gap on the box. In the usual position of the box lock, there was a circular rune pattern, and only in this place, there were some variegated colors. When she gave it to Yangchun, Sun Qingxue still had some doubts. The sect master said that it is very important, especially to thank you, and it is best that you don't let others know. Yangchun suddenly understood that this was another reward from the Blue Cloud sect, the reward for discovering the 8th metal true secret art. Blue Cloud sect was such a big sect, it was not easy to owe others a favor and not return it. It was estimated that this thing was the reason for the delay of these 3 years. "What is it?" Yangchun asked casually. Since it was a reward for himself, Yangchun certainly accepted it with a peace of mind. For this matter, Yangchun also made a hard oath, of course, he couldn't do nothing. The Blue Cloud sect was also considered to be on the right track. "I don't know." Sun Qingxue shook her head and said, "The sect master didn't say it, and master didn't say it." For her master and the sect master to be so secretive, Sun Qingxue felt a little wronged. Could it be that even she couldn't know? It was reasonable to give her a reward. The 8th metal true secret art was not an ordinary cultivation method. Under the same circumstances, the power was at least double that of ordinary cultivation methods. This kind of powerful cultivation method, if matched with enough 8th metal true essence, could definitely bring more masters to the Blue Cloud sect. It could even be said that, to a certain extent, this eighth metal true secret art was not even worse than the questioning inner heart pill. However, the jade box was so tightly sealed that even Sun Qingxue didn't know what it was. This was indeed a bit strange. Don't let others see it. Presumably not let the people of Chunyang Palace or the Green Jade Immortal Island see it. But there should be no restrictions for Sun Qingxue. At the moment, Yang Chun touched the position of the rune on the lock. The rune was immediately activated by his spiritual power. Yang Chun never doubted whether the Blue Cloud sect would harm him with the things inside. First, there was still Sun Qingxue here. Second, in the case that he had not yet given the questioning inner heart pill to the Blue Cloud sect, but he had already received the reward of the fire seed, the Blue Cloud sect would never want him to have an accident. Gotcha! The inscription lit up, and the jade box was easily opened. Immediately after, the inscription directly shattered, turning into a pile of fragmented patterns. It was obvious that the box had been opened before. This rune was not an anti-theft rune to prevent others from opening it, but to make Yang Chun believe that the things inside had not been replaced, and that they would shatter as soon as they were opened. It had the function of sealing wax. When the jade box was opened, there was another small jade box inside. However, both the inner and outer walls of the original jade box were densely engraved with formations, and a surge of heat was vaguely emitted from the jade box. Even after passing through 2 layers of formations, it still made people feel hot. There was a familiar feeling in the burning feeling. Yang Chun did not need to open the jade box to already know what was inside. It was also a fire seed, but this time it was a 6th grade fire seed. The Purple Heart Profound Fire, a 6th grade fire, a super flame higher than the True Sun Fire, was in the jade box in the hands of Yang Chun. The 5th grade True Sun Fire had already allowed Yang Chun to step into the realm of Great Principal Golden Immortal in his previous life. The power of the 6th grade Purple Heart Profound Fire. Presumably there was nothing more to say. In particular, the Purple Heart Profound Fire was the upgraded fire seed of another 4th grade flame, the Purple Heart Fire. The Purple Heart Fire, a 4th grade fire, happened to be the fire seed that Yang Chen's Master Gao Yu currently possessed. The Blue Cloud sect must have also calculated Yang Chen's attitude towards his master. Not only was this reward given to Yang Chen, but it could also be said to help Gao Yu. Everyone seemed to understand that if they annoyed Yang Chen, they should not annoy Gao Yu, and, conversely, pleasing Gao Yu is also pleasing Yang Chen. On this point, the Blue Cloud sect simply grasped it accurately. Everything depended on Yang Chen. Yang Chen was willing to give the Purple Heart Profound Fire to his master. Naturally, Gao Yu and Yang Chen would be happy. Yang Chen was not willing. Anyway, he also needed a lot of fire seeds, and the Purple Heart Profound Fire could also meet Yang Chen's requirements. In any case, the Blue Cloud sect could be considered to have met Yang Chen's needs. Regarding this gift, Yang Chen was simply surprised and happy. Unexpectedly, the gift that the Blue Cloud sect sent out was so thoughtful, and it was so to his liking. Among the questioning inner heart pills given to the Blue Cloud sect, there would be 1 or 2 more 2nd grade questioning inner heart pills. Sun Qingxue was of the wood attribute. She naturally did not like the flame very much. After knowing that it was a 6th grade fire seed, she lost interest. Anyway, her task had been completed. She simply pulled Yang Chun and let Yang Chun take her play. Meiqing Mountain was no longer the same as before. The mountain gate had been rebuilt and was very different from before. After Yang Chun took Sun Qingxue around, he did not dare to waste more time. After all, Sect Master Lu and the head of the palace were waiting. The two soon returned to the main hall. They didn't know what Sect Master Lu and the head of the palace discussed. It seemed that both sides were hesitating and there was no final conclusion. Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue came back at the right time, and the two sides also took the opportunity to suspend the discussion to avoid embarrassment. That night, Sect Master Lu and his party were arranged to stay in the VIP house, and Yang Chun was called to the hall of the Blue Vault Mountain Immortals cave to discuss matters. Blue Cloud Sect has already given you the reward for alchemy? The head of the palace asked. Yang Chun nodded and admitted this. However, for the Purple Heart Profound Fire, Yang Chun did not mention it for the time being, and it was not appropriate to mention it at this time. In particular, he had made a hard oath. Once the head of the palace and the other elders smelled it, Yang Chun would really not be able to answer. Then you can refine 2 furnaces of questioning inner heart pills for them. The head of the palace was aware of this matter. He told Yang Chun, and then said the part that the 2 sides did not discuss today. Sect Master Liu is interested in the inner sensing pill and wants to exchange it for my sect. I have not agreed for the time being. Accompanying the head of the palace to receive the guests of the Blue Cloud sect were only Wang Yong and the old tree demon Gue Shanyu, who were also in the Deshang stage. Even Su Qingxin was an errand boy. The other elders did not know what to discuss specifically. When they heard the introduction of the head of the palace, they suddenly understood. They didn't know what kind of conditions the Blue Cloud sect offered, but the head of the palace did not agree, which made Yang Chun and others feel strange. What was even more strange was that with the strength of the Blue Cloud sect, they did not get the pill recipe of the inner sensing pill from the hands of the monster race, which really made people sigh. Yang Chun, you give me an accurate estimate. The head of the palace hesitated for a while and asked Yang Chun, if we give the Blue Cloud sect the pill recipe, how long can they refine the second-grade inner sensing pill? Chapter 659. Although Yang Chun had already promised this to the head of the palace in front of Elder Wang Yong, at this moment, in front of all the elders, Yang Chun still replied respectfully, according to the estimation of this disciple, it will take 200 years, and it will take hundreds of thousands of years. It is impossible to do it in a shorter time. It was not that Yang Chun was arrogant. It was that his great principle Golden Immortal's fire control technique was not what the mortal fire control masters could imagine. Several kinds of 5th-grade fire seeds were controlled at the same time. Even if it was a fire control genius, it would take at least 100 years to achieve it. If the refining of the suitable pill furnace and the exploration of the second-grade refining method were counted, this time was definitely tight. Even if a 6th-grade alchemist master came, he would not necessarily be able to solve this problem in a short period of 200 years. Even Yang Chun, after reading the Grand Lord Pill scripture, plus the Yundan scripture left by certain immortal as a reference, he was able to achieve this in just half a year. Otherwise, in this life, Yang Chun would not be able to achieve the second-grade refining of the inner sensing pill. The power of the Grand Lord. Yang Chun was more and more aware of this seemingly inconspicuous small pill refining in the mortal world. With the guarantee of Yang Chun's face, the head of the palace became more and more confident. The elders also understood the focus of the Chunyang Palace and the Blue Cloud sect. They had originally discussed to exchange the second-grade inner sensing pill for the greatest benefits. Now, it was natural to push the benefits that the inner sensing pill could get to the limit. In this disciple's opinion, since the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect have a close relationship with my sect, this pill recipe of the inner sensing pill, my sect will simply send it as a gift. Yang Chun saw that everyone was hesitating for the time being and took the initiative to say. Everyone was shocked and looked at Yang Chun. They didn't seem to understand how Yang Chun would do such a loss-making business. However, Zhu Qintao quickly reacted. His eyes lit up, and he immediately smiled and praised. Good idea. Since this first-grade inner sensing pill doesn't have much effect, then I will simply be generous so that the importance of the second-grade inner sensing pill will be more and more reflected. I don't have to worry about not being able to open a price in the future. Zhu Qintao's words made everyone nod repeatedly. Since other sect also had the opportunity to get the pill recipe of the first-grade inner sensing pill, they simply did a favor and gave it to the other party for free. When the other party discovered that the first-grade inner sensing pill was not as powerful as the speculation, it was just the time to raise the price of the second-grade inner sensing pill. Okay, let's do this. The palace master also nodded slightly and praised Yang Chen's idea. At first, he just wanted to get the greatest benefits, but he didn't want the other party to know the power of the second-grade inner sensing pill. If he really opened his mouth, it would hurt the sincerity of the cooperation between the two sides. Everyone understood what Yang Chen meant with just one point. It was not necessarily a loss to give it to the other party for free. Blue Cloud sect would owe Chunyang Palace a favor. When the real second-grade inner sensing pill came out, the price would still be what it was. At the same time, they would not lose money, and they would also get a favor from the Blue Cloud sect. This was a profitable business. Yang Chun, when Sect Master Lu came, he also mentioned the marriage between the dancing snow fairy and you. After determining the pill recipe strategy of the inner sensing pill, the palace master directly changed the topic and asked Yang Chun, "Your master does not object? How do you think about it?" His master did not object. Yang Chun was not surprised. Not long ago, his master had already told Yang Chun that whether Yang Chun wanted the dancing snow fairy or the cold plum fairy, he must first consider his senior sister Gong Sunling. However, it was also because of Gao Yu's reminder that Yang Chun realized another thing. Did he really want to become a double cultivation companion with son Qingxue, Shi Shanshan? This question, Yang Chun himself has no answer to it. Both of them were peerlessly beautiful, and both of them were geniuses with superb cultivation aptitudes. They came from prestigious sects and possessed superb cultivations. No matter how one looked at it, accepting both of them was a good thing that was extremely enviable. But Yang Chun asked himself that he could not pass his own test. His own heart has not yet given an answer to this question. That being the case, Yang Chun was not in a hurry to give an answer immediately. This disciple still wants to think about it again. Yang Chun replied truthfully, not caring that his answer caused the surprise of the elders. This kind of good thing still needs to be considered. Elder Zheng Feng fully showed his nature of being in charge of the warehouse. Of course, good things should be in the bag first. If you drag it on, wouldn't it benefit others in the end? This disciple is still not sure if I want it. Yang Chun smiled somewhat self-deprecatingly. If one day the disciple really wants it, the disciple will personally go to them to ask for their hand in marriage, instead of the elders of both sides like this. Why? You still don't want to set such a good thing for you. Elder Meng Xian's eyes glared, not angry. Do you think I will harm you? Of course, this disciple won't think so. Yang Chun replied with a smile. He knew that no matter how angry the elders were with him, it was not that they had any views on him. It was just that everyone's ideas were different. After a pause, Yang Chun found a suitable excuse, and then said, "This disciple just doesn't have an answer yet. When I figure it out, this disciple will naturally confirm this matter with the two fairies face to face. Aren't you afraid that when the time comes to shave your head?" Gao Shiyan was the master ancestor of Gong Sunling. He was very concerned about Gong Sunling's affairs. The fairy Yang Chun actually temporarily refused the cold plum fairy and the dancing snow fairy. He was the happiest one. He couldn't help but tease. If you don't succeed now, when the time comes, the flower has already been taken. What will you do? That's not my fate. This disciple will not force it. Yang Chun replied very calmly. What if the two fairies don't agree? Then what? Gao Shiyan still asked in the same tone. Whether it is the Green Jade Immortal Island or the Blue Cloud sect, they have never been so embarrassed. If you are willing, if the two major sect disagrees, what will you do? If the two fairies are unwilling, this disciple will not force it. Although Yang Chun still had a smile, his tone revealed a strong self-confidence. But if it is for other reasons, please forgive this disciple. Even if the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect obstruct, the result will be the same. If this disciple wants to do it, he will definitely be able to do it. No one can stop him. When Yang Chen's words came out, the elders were silent for a while. Originally, Gao Shiyan still had a heart to refute, but suddenly he thought about Yang Chen's achievements in recent years. Whether it was the Taishaman or the monster race's second city lord, the 100,000 mountains, the questioning inner heart pill, the heaven-seizing pill, the inner sensing pill, plus the pursuit of Luo Yuan in the late Deshang stage, he couldn't find an example that could refute Yang Chun. Chapter 660. The cooperation between Chunyang Palace and Blue Cloud sect was finally completed smoothly. Blue Cloud sect not only got the promise of refining the questioning inner heart pill, but also got the pill recipe of the inner sensing pill for free. Although the pill recipe of the monster race was not so rare, the Blue Cloud sect's luck was not good. The disciples of the sect killed thousands of monster race, and they did not get the pill recipe of the inner-sensing pill. Since Chunyang Palace was very generous in giving the pill recipe of the inner-sensing pill, then the matter of Sun Qingxue had not been given a positive answer by the head of the palace, and Sect Master Lu could not pursue it too much. After all, Chunyang Palace did not refuse, but let the two young people get along and decide for themselves. This reason could also be taken out. Everyone could see the importance of Yang Chen to Chunyang Palace. It was simply understandable to respect Yang Chen's own opinion on this kind of thing. Of course, Chunyang Palace also treated the Green Jade Immortal Island equally in the matter of Yang Chen, which was the biggest reason for the Blue Cloud sect to finally accept it. For now, Blue Cloud sect could only tell Sun Qingxue to let her get along with Yang Chen as much as possible, to gain more experience together, to strive to make Yang Chen tempted, and to be ahead of Shi Shanshan. Not to mention how the Blue Cloud sect people were looking forward to the beauty of the refining of the questioning inner heart pill. Yang Chen was now together with his master and senior sister. In the Blue Vault Mountain Immortals Cave, they found a suitable room and cultivated together. In addition to the fire seed reward given by Blue Cloud sect in advance this time, Yang Chen already had 60 kinds of 3rd grade fire seeds, 30 kinds of 4th grade fire seeds, plus 4 kinds of 5th grade fire seeds, and there was also the Purple Heart Profound Fire, a 6th grade fire seed. Yang Chen was not willing to keep it outside. At least these fire seeds should be absorbed by the Profound Spirit Furnace first. After Gong Sunling came back, she thought that she was busy with something and did not dare to see Yang Chen, but she was still dragged to Yang Chen by Gao Yu. Yang Chen was also not pretentious. It was very straightforward to his master and senior sister to express his desire to have a spiritual awareness double cultivation. Although the two women were very shy when they heard Yang Chen's request, neither of them objected and obediently followed Yang Chen into the cave residence. It may be that they knew Yang Chen's attitude towards the marriage between the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island. The two women were very docile to Yang Chen, making Yang Chen have a feeling that he was like the head of the family, and the two women were Yang Chen's most beloved wives. There were only a few hundred Chunyang Palace disciples who were eligible to enter the Blue Vault Mountain Immortals Cave to practice. All of them were loyal disciples who had been assessed by Hall Master Meng Xian and several elders. These were the core of the Chunyang Palace in the future, and of course, they had to be cultivated. In a huge sect palace, Yang Chen and the other two only occupied a small corner. Even if someone noticed, no one would come to disturb them. Of course, Yang Chen pulling the two goddesses for double cultivation was false, and taking the opportunity to communicate more was true. Moreover, the Purple Heart Profound Fire must be absorbed by his master, and it was just right to give it to her in this secret place. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling did not know when they had formed an offensive and defensive alliance. Yang Chen was well aware of this, so he did not hide anything from Gong Sunling. He took out the jade box that stored the Purple Heart Profound Fire in front of Gong Sunling. There was no sign on the jade box, and they couldn't see what it was from the outside. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were a little puzzled. "What is this?" Gao Yu turned to look at Yang Chen and asked strangely. "This is a gift for you, master." Yang Chen replied with a smile. After answering his master, he turned to his senior sister and said apologetically, "I didn't encounter anything suitable for my senior sister this time. Next time I have a chance, I will find a suitable one for my senior sister." He would not explain the origin of the Purple Heart Profound Fire, only saying that he accidentally encountered it when he went out. The two women were very calm. Yang Chen occasionally encountered something good when he went out to practice, and he would never forget them. Not to mention anything else, just the 4C's mysterious coral liquid. Now the two women have already drunk the amount that made many people beat their chests and stomp their feet. Opening the jade box, Gao Yu immediately felt the amazing heat of the Purple Heart Profound Fire through the two-layered formation, and the Purple Heart Fire in her body was attracted by the things in the box and was ready to move. All of a sudden, Gao Yu was shocked. This is... At first, Gao Yu was not sure, But the feeling of becoming more and more familiar and attractive made her quickly confirm that it turned out to be the 6th grade fire seed, purple heart, profound fire that she dreamed of. Wang Yang's flame, because it absorbed the fire and water in the Qilin horn, became the Qilin fire, and then became the 7th grade Qilin heavenly fire under the quenching of the Yin fire tribulation. It was already at the same level as the pure Yang true fire collected in the Chunyang Palace, and Yang Chun did not need to bother to find a fire seed. The problem of the master ancestor was solved, so his master naturally had to be put on the agenda. It just so happened that the appearance of the purple heart profound fire satisfied this wish of Yang Chun. Looking at Gao Yu's surprised appearance, Yang Chen's heart was full of satisfaction. It could make his master so happy. Not to mention the 6th grade fire seed, Yang Chun was willing to take out a higher level fire seed. However, with Gao Yu's qualifications in fire control, even if she reached the Yuanying stage, the highest grade of fire seed that she could absorb was the 6th grade fire seed, and it would never be higher. Unless she also learned Wang Yang's method and used the Yin fire tribulation to temper and upgrade the purple heart profound fire to the purple heart heavenly fire. This was a long time in the future, and there was a long time ahead. At least Yang Chun would not have to consider this problem for hundreds of years. Although the Yin-Yang heaven-burning fire also needed to be fused with the fire seed, at present, the 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade fire seeds were enough for Yang Chun to spend decades to fuse. When he needed the 6th grade fire seed, maybe Yang Chun would have been able to find more fun from other channels. Gao Yu was already immersed in ecstasy. Yang Chun had quietly found her the purple heart profound fire. From then on, the fire attribute spirit power would not have to worry for at least hundreds of years. How could she not be happy? Of course, the happiest thing was Yang Chen's intention. Wherever he went, he did not forget to find the right thing for himself. This was what made Gao Yu most moved and the most happy. If it weren't for Gong Sunling being around, Gao Yu would hate to be in Yang Chen's arms again and share this extreme happiness with him. Master, this fire seed, you take care of it properly. When Gao Yu calmed down a little, Yang Chen reminded, first slowly get familiar with the heat of the purple heart profound fire, and when you're almost adapted, you can unlock the first layer of the formation. Step by step, if you want to fully absorb it, it will take at least 100 years, no hurry. Gao Yu certainly understood this truth. But this was a 6th grade fire seed. How could Yang Chun make Gao Yu completely calm down in a few words? Yang Chun understood Gao Yu's mind and didn't say much. After reminding her, he turned to senior sister Gong Sunling. He took out 2 1st grade inner sensing pills from the merit ring and handed one to his senior sister. Chapter 661. This is the inner sensing pill, the 1st grade. Senior sister can take one first and feel the qi and blood spirit power in her body. There were good things to give to his own people, Yang Chun said with a smile. Although it can't form a nascent soul, it is more or less helpful for cultivation. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling certainly knew about the inner sensing pill that was widely circulated in the outside world, but they had never had the chance to see it. Now that Yang Chun took it out, it just satisfied their curiosity first. Gao Yu was also attracted, carefully put away the jade box, and then took another inner sensing pill from Yang Chen's hand and put it in front of her eyes to observe it carefully. They have already taken the 2nd grade questioning inner heart pill given by Yang Chun. The 2 women were not surprised that Yang Chun took out the 1st grade inner sensing pill for them. After appreciating it for a while, then under the gesture of Yang Chun, they swallowed the medicinal pill in their hands into their abdomen. The 1st grade inner sensing pill did not need to arrange a soundproof formation to offset the sound damage, and 10 times the sensory enhancement was within the bearable range. But Yang Chun was still careful to stay by the side. Once there was a problem, he could solve it at any time. The process of the inner sensing pill's miraculous effect was very normal, and there was no abnormality. The 2 women also enjoyed the taste of feeling the qi and blood spirit power in their body. After the medicinal effect of an inner sensing pill was completed, the 2 women had some insights and sat quietly and began to savor it. Yang Chun did not disturb them. He took out an inner sensing pill and swallowed it, and began to feel the medicinal power silently. Speaking of it, this was the first time that Yang Chun swallowed the inner sensing pill that he had refined. The two elders, Xiao Ming and Su Qingxin, because they appeared at the right time, it was equivalent to taking the initiative to act as a test subject for him, letting him confirm that the medicinal pills of the monster race also worked for human cultivators. His senses suddenly improved, and Yang Chen also used this extremely keen sense to understand the qi and blood spirit power in his body. The process did not last long, and Yang Chen was very happy to find that for the time being, there was no deviation in his cultivation, and everything was on the normal track. Perhaps it was because of this trip out to gain experience, the two women had indeed gained a lot. After swallowing the inner sensing pill this time, the process of perception was surprisingly long. For several days, even Yang Chun controlled the profound spirit furnace to absorb a third-grade fire seed, and the two women did not wake up from that state of perception. Carefully taking care of his master and senior sister, Yang Chun started to think about his next plan while absorbing the fire seed. Now that he had received the remuneration from the Blue Cloud sect, he would simply refine the questioning inner heart pills at one time. Then, after absorbing these fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace, Yang Chun would consider going to the vein of seventh metal true essence left by Tai Bai Jinxing. If all goes well, the seventh metal true essence congealing Dan, and Yang Chun will return to the East China Sea. On the one hand, it was to collect more 10th water true essence. On the other hand, it was to try to open the remaining restrictions in the Dragon Palace treasure house. On the East China Sea side, Yang Chen planned to stay at least until the 10th water true essence, congealing Dan. Then, Yang Chen planned to collect more than a dozen flying swords left by a certain immortal, and use them to make life source magic weapons for his master and senior sister. Of course, in the process of the journey, Yang Chen would use the yin-yang heaven-burning fire to absorb those flames at any time, and the level of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire would be upgraded again. It was estimated that it would take at least 20 or 30 years to do all this, just in time to take Mu Bo and the Cypress monster family back to the sect, and then he could hit another future genius. The plan was good, but it was a pity that there was no arrangement to find trouble with the Taishaman during this time. At present, Yang Chun and Chunyang Palace needed to take advantage of the Taishaman's eagerness to restore their strength, to explore a way for the sect to recruit monster cultivators on a large scale. It was not that Yang Chun did not want revenge, but revenge was not as simple as killing Yang Lan. The sect master of the Taishaman, including the entire Taishaman, were the target of Yang Chen's revenge. This was not something that could be accomplished overnight. Yang Chun had enough patience. Moreover, with the strength and influence of the enemy to strengthen himself, and in turn, eliminate the enemy. Wasn't the taste of this revenge more wonderful? Gao Yu and Gong Sunling woke up from the understanding of the inner sensing Dan and were more curious about the second-grade inner sensing Dan. However, at this time, Yang Chun did not intend to give it to the two women. At least, he had to wait for their cultivation base to be consolidated for decades before using it. For the time being, the effect of the first-grade inner sensing Dan was enough. Yang Chun wanted to refine the questioning inner heart pill, and the two women also wanted to spend more time with Yang Chun. They stayed here to accompany Yang Chun and, at the same time, to protect Yang Chun. However, before the alchemy, Yang Chun still planned to take a year or two to absorb all the fire seeds in his hands into the profound spirit furnace. The upgrade of the profound spirit furnace also meant that the grade of the medicinal pill would be higher, and the alchemy would be easier. The spiritual awareness double cultivation was naturally carried out in turn. This kind of cultivation method that was of great benefit to the spiritual awareness of both sides. Yang Chun would never waste it. Anyway, the two women had already cultivated with Yang Chun, and everyone could accept the spiritual awareness double cultivation. Here, Yang Chun was proceeding according to his own plan in an orderly manner, but outside, there was an uproar because of the inner sensing Dan. Fortunately, The sect that had the pill recipe of the inner sensing Dan had already successfully refined the first grade inner sensing Dan within a year. Although the number of medicinal pills in a furnace could not be compared with Yang Chen's, they had already obtained a few inner sensing dawn that had been refined, which also marked the complete success of the refining of the inner sensing Dan. The efficacy of these inner sensing dawn was almost exactly the same as the first grade inner sensing Dan refined by Yang Chen. It could also improve the sensory sensitivity by 10 times, allowing people to explore their own body's blood and spiritual power. When many masters of the peak Jiedan stage, who were on the verge of breaking through, took the inner sensing Dan with great anticipation. Just like Su Qingxin at the beginning, they also understood some deviations in their own cultivation, but they could not take the last step in any case to trigger the heavenly tribulation and begin the process of forming their nascent soul. With this question, countless people returned to Chunyang Palace and inquired about it for a long time. They got the news from an elder of Chunyang Palace that the reason why Qiao Ming and Su Qingxin could break through was not the first grade inner sensing Dan in their hands, but the second grade inner sensing Dan that had been refined by the second grade. While secretly cursing Chunyang Palace for being unkind, a bunch of alchemists started a new round of refining the inner sensing Dan. However, the result this time was unacceptable to everyone. After spending a lot of hundreds of years of elixirs, the first grade inner sensing Dan that had been formed when they were refining the second grade, all of them failed without exception, and none of the medicinal pills were preserved. Some people who did not believe in the heresy had refined it twice in a row, and all of them ended up with a furnace of coke. This second grade inner sensing Dan was still firmly held in the hands of Chunyang Palace. Chapter 662. Anyone who knew a little about the previous situation of Chunyang Palace knew that all this seemed to have happened after Yang Chen joined Chunyang Palace. Yang Chen's reputation as an alchemist master started from refining the heaven-seizing pill. When Elder Wu Xiong gathered the alchemists to refine the heaven-seizing pill, Yang Chen was regarded as an errand boy, but it was this errand boy who finally turned the rotten into the magical and completed the refining of the heaven-seizing pill. At first, there were still people who had the idea of Yang Chen's pill recipe, and more than one. Helian Yun, the Xiang family, plus some sect, including Taishaman, were upset with Yang Chen for this and asked for it on the grounds that Yang Chen took the Xiang family's pill recipe. As a result, after being refuted one by one, Helian Yun was beheaded and the Xiang family was exterminated. After the emergence of the questioning inner heart pill, Yang Chen had firmly sat on the throne of the alchemy master, and no one could shake it anymore. The questioning inner heart pill had been studied by several big sect, but their respective Yuanying stage alchemy masters could not refine it. Everyone could say that there was no pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill, and they could only rely on their own research to find various reasons such as inconvenience, inaccuracy, and so on. Now, it was not easy to have an inner sensing pill with a pill recipe, but the alchemy masters of several sects could not even succeed in the second grade refining. The alchemy talent that Yang Chen showed to outsiders at this moment simply made countless people secretly drool. What kind of dogshit luck did Chunyang Palace have to recruit this kind of alchemy genius as a disciple? Because the name of Yang Chen was too big and the things involved were also very important, many sect members have learned about Yang Chen's origin. Even when he was a disciple of the outer sect in Chunyang Palace's Yishio Villa, he was suppressed by the disciple Chu Hong. Later, in the duel with Li Qingshun, some clues were strung together. Yang Chen didn't go through anyone's guidance. He relied purely on some miscellaneous books that he liked to read and had such cultivation and alchemy methods. How could those guys who claimed to be senior alchemists endure this? Among the Taishaman, a young disciple was standing in front of the sect master. He was carefully waiting for the sect master and the elders to question him. This young disciple did not seem to have a high cultivation level. He was only in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm and was about to enter the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. However, there was still a certain gap between him and core formation. The young man was very familiar. If Yang Chen was present, he would be able to recognize that the young man was Yang Lan, his former enemy. However, at this moment, Yang Lan still had the arrogant posture in front of Yang Chun. He was careful and did not dare to breathe. In the face of a group of elders of the Yuanying and Deshang stage, it was good that he did not tremble. Yang Lan, Yang Chun is your fellow countryman? The sect master did not speak, but an elder of the Yuanying stage asked, and it was an acquaintance who had been to Chunyang Palace, Mao Qi, the hall master of the Foreign Affairs Hall of the Taishaman. Reporting to the hall master, Yang Chun is indeed a fellow countryman of this disciple. Even if it was only Mao Qi who spoke, Yang Lan did not dare to neglect and hurriedly replied, "He and this disciple are from the same village. We also came together to participate in the selection of the outer sect disciples of the Taishaman." What? Hearing Yang Lan's words, the sect master and the elders, who had been sitting in the back and had not spoken, almost jumped up. An elder who looked like he was in his 30s shouted directly at Yang Lan. "He came to participate in the selection of our Taishaman disciples." "Yes, elder." Yang Lan was almost kneeled down by the elder and quickly replied, "But he was unlucky and was not selected at that time." "Unlucky?" As soon as Yang Lan's words came out, there was an elder who smiled bitterly. "It's not so much that he is unlucky. It's better to say that we are unlucky. Such a good seedling. It happened to be in our sect selection of disciples, and he has not yet shown his spiritual root." Yang Lan listened to the words of the elders, and his heart moved. He raised his head slightly and made a gesture of wanting to speak, but hesitating, then quickly lowered it and returned to his original state. If someone hadn't been staring at him, maybe they wouldn't have found out what he had done. But who were the people present? The worst one was also a Yuanying stage elder. Although Yang Lan's movements were slight, how could he escape the attention of anyone? "Do you have anything to say?" Although Mao Qi, the hall master of the Foreign Affairs Hall, has lost his own flying sword, he has not lost his identity as the hall master. When he saw Yang Lan's small movements, he immediately asked, Disciple, it's hard to say." Yang Lan's performance was a little uneasy, and he repeatedly claimed to be two disciples, and finally squeezed out 3 words, "It's hard to say." Mao Qi's brow wrinkled immediately. In front of the sect master and the elders, he even dared to say that there was something that was hard to say. He snorted at Yang Lan, and the momentum was slightly released, and he ordered mercilessly, "Say it." "Yes." Yang Lan's body was very natural, and he promised a sentence, completely with a look of fear and trepidation. Under the pressure of the Yuanying stage master, he, a disciple of the late foundation stage, did not directly collapse in place, which was already a very good performance. Yang Chun did not test his spiritual root that year. Mao Qi reprimanded him with pressure, or would he dare to hide anything, and quickly said, when he entered the mountain gate, "I don't know what he saw," and shouted. Then there was a master uncle who said that he roared at the mountain gate and threw him directly out of the mountain gate. After listening to Yang Lan, including the sect master, all the elders had an expression on their faces. Because he shouted, he was thrown out of the mountain gate? It doesn't matter if he was thrown, but he directly threw an alchemy genius to the Chunyang Palace, when they thought that he was originally the treasure of the Taishaman. But because of such a small thing, he became a disciple of another sect. Everyone's mood was simply indescribable. A kid who had never seen the world, when he entered the mountain gate of the Taishaman, naturally everything was new. How big of a thing was it to shout? Was this also called roaring at the mountain gate? Which bastard threw people out? A master of the Deshang stage, who had never spoken, usually didn't care much about the affairs of the sect. The elder who was immersed in cultivation suddenly broke out, and his momentum was like a thunderbolt, pressing against Yang Lan. This elder has been trapped in the middle Deshang stage bottleneck for a long time. After hearing about the questioning inner heart pill, he was excited, but even if it was the Taishaman, they only bought one at the auction house, and it was also used for research. It was not used for a breakthrough at all. Now that he heard that the alchemy master of the Taishaman had become a disciple of another sect, and he was still hopeless to ask for the pill, he suddenly broke out. The majesty of the master of the Deshang stage. How could a small disciple of the foundation stage bear it? Yang Lan was not as strong as Yang Chun, and his spiritual awareness was already heaven-defying. Seeing that Yang Lan was about to suffer, a halo suddenly flashed around him, and the pressure of the elder of the Deshang stage was also blocked outside. Chapter 663. It was the sect master of Taishaman who made a move. He used one of his own protective magic weapons, just to resist the unconscious eruption of the elder, and it was very easy. When the elder saw the sect master make a move, he also realized that his attitude was wrong, and he was looking for the wrong target. Yang Lan came to Taishaman with Yang Chun, and it was not him who threw Yang Chun out. Who threw Yang Chun out? The elder asked again. This time, the voice was a lot slower, but it was still full of anger. This disciple doesn't remember. Yang Lan seemed to have been frightened. He just called out, and he didn't dare to say more. It was no wonder that it was already more than 100 years ago, and, at that time, who would think that it was a big thing? Who would deliberately remember who threw people out? Find out which year Yang Lan joined our sect. All the guys who were responsible for recruiting outer sect disciples that year all go to the law enforcement hall to be punished. Everyone will face the wall for 10 years. If you find out who threw him out, you will face the wall for 20 years, plus 100 God-slaying whips. The sect master gave a faint command, and immediately the law enforcement hall master went out to make arrangements. Although the voice of the sect master was very light, everyone could hear some dissatisfaction. Such an excellent alchemist, just because he looked at the beautiful scenery and called out, he completely lost the opportunity, and he was pushed to the hands of the enemy. How could he not be angry? Speaking of which, this Yang Chun is the little guy that Li Qingchun instructed Chu Hong of Chunyang Palace to embarrass, right? Another elder also remembered a lot of things. Later, he had a duel with Li Qingchun, and he killed Li Qingchun, right? Originally, with the identity of the big shots present, it was impossible to notice these little things. But first, Yang Chun was now famous, and second, Li Qingchun was also an excellent disciple of Taishaman. Everyone had a little impression of him. If that's the case, I'm afraid it will be a little difficult to pull him into my Taishaman. A group of people were discussing here, not to confirm where Yang Chun was from, but to think of ways to pull Yang Chun over to the Taishaman side. Originally, he found that Yang Lan was a fellow countryman of Yang Chun. This relationship might be used. However, it would be hard to say if Li Qingchun was involved. Back then, Li Qingchun had offended Yang Chun with all his might. He had even persuaded Chu Hong to betray the sect. Even though Li Qingchun had died in Yang Chun's hands, who knew if Yang Chun still bore a grudge against him? No matter what, we have to give it a try first. The gate master finally decided on this point. He said to Yang Lan, recently, Yang Chun has been in Chunyang Palace. You approach him as a fellow countryman and see if you can try to pull him over. After a pause, without waiting for Yang Lan to ask, the gate master directly gave Yang Lan the bottom line. As long as he agrees, we can give him everything he wants. Cultivation methods, magic weapons, elixirs, spirit stones, materials, beauties, whatever he wants, we will give him. In short, we will give everything that Chunyang Palace can give, even more than that. As long as he can join my Taishaman, everything will be fine. This disciple accepts the decree. Yang Lan's eyes lit up, and he immediately realized that this was an unprecedented opportunity. After bowing and agreeing, he seemed to think of something. He bowed again and asked, Gate Master, if Yang Chun is under pressure because of his betrayal, how should I reply? As long as he is willing to join my Taishaman, if Chunyang Palace has any opinions, we can just take the opportunity to destroy them. We can't give them a chance to become stronger. The gate master gave the answer without thinking. This disciple understands. Yang Lan knew that he should leave. This was not a place where he could stay all the time. However, it seemed that because of Yang Chun, he had also fallen into the eyes of the high level. As long as things were done beautifully, he would not worry about his future in the future. After retreating, Yang Lan did not even return to his residence. After leaving the hall, he went straight to the mountain gate and quickly flew in the direction of Chunyang Palace. His actions caused a few of the higher-ups who had been observing him to nod slightly. This person had a decent attitude when it came to handling matters. It was not until he left the Taishaman Mountain Gate for hundreds of miles that Yanglan's face showed a strange smile. Among the guys who were responsible for receiving the disciples of the Outer Mountain Gate, there was one who had always been against Yanglan. Yanglan just took this opportunity to honestly tell the fact that Yang Chun was expelled, and that guy immediately suffered retribution. Although a lot of innocent people were hurt, Yanglan did not have the slightest guilt. They were unlucky. Who made them so close to that guy in the past? However, in Yanglan's eyes, there was still a strong sense of jealousy. Yang Chun, a country bumpkin, unexpectedly had a big reputation, even stronger than him. How could Yanglan, who had always been arrogant, accept this? From childhood to adulthood, Yanglan was the best in the village, including his sister. No one could compare to him. No matter what, Yanglan wanted to occupy the best position. Even the apprentice had to join the largest sect of Taishaman. In just 100 years, Yanglan had cultivated to the late stage of the foundation stage. Although he was not comparable to those amazing genius disciples, he was also a rare, outstanding disciple. But what Yanglan never thought of was that Yang Chun, who was originally a waste in the village, had actually cultivated to the Jiedan stage and also became a master of alchemy. If it was someone else, maybe Yanglan's heart would be a little better, but it was Yang Chun, which made Yanglan crazy with jealousy. This time, he had to follow the order of the sect to win over Yang Chun. It was conceivable that when he saw Yang Chun, Yanglan had to put on a humble attitude, which made Yanglan even more angry. If he couldn't win, how would the sect deal with him? From the answer to the last question given to him by the sect master, Yanglan had already guessed some attitudes. Since he was not a person of Taishaman, he must find ways to remove him. He couldn't watch Yang Chun grow up and become a big problem for Taishaman. After thinking about this, Yanglan suddenly understood what he should do. Yang Chun, this guy, let him be proud for a few days, and then he would cry in the future. Yang Chun, who was absorbing the fire in the sect, suddenly received a notice from the sect, saying that a former fellow villager had come to the door. Yang Chun was very surprised, and he never thought that it was Yanglan. Later, when he heard that Yanglan of Taishaman came to see him, Yang Chun was stunned, and then he laughed. He thought that this guy had died silently in the explosion of the welcoming array. He didn't expect him to be alive. This was the opportunity that God gave to Yang Chun to avenge himself. How could Yang Chun not laugh happily? Chapter 664. Yang Chun has been absorbing those fire seeds for more than a year. There were a lot of 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade fire seeds, and it took a lot of time. 1 year was only enough for Yang Chun to absorb all the 3rd grade fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace. The 4th grade fire seeds took a longer time, and each one took at least half a month. Yang Chun now had at least 30 kinds of 4th grade fire seeds on his body. He had just absorbed 4 or 5 kinds, and he received a notice from Yanglan's visit. This time, Yang Chun was not in retreat. He was just cultivating in the Immortal's cave, and the news from the outside was sent in smoothly. Hearing that there was an old friend of Yang Chun who came to visit Yang Chun, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling did not stop him and directly sent the news to Yang Chun. For Yanglan, Yang Chun hated him. However, all along, Yanglan was nesting in the Taishaman and did not come out, and Yang Chun did not find a suitable opportunity to start. Although Yang Chun could sneak into the Taishaman and kill Yanglan without anyone knowing, this lacked the feeling of Yang Chun being open and above board. In particular, after Yang Chun detonated the welcoming array of Taishaman, tens of thousands of Taishaman's outer sect disciples died, and many disciples in the foundation stage were also killed. Yang Chun always thought that Yanglan had died in the chaos, but he didn't expect this guy to be so lucky. This was even better. It was simply that the heavens were also following Yang Chun's intention, so that Yang Chun could have the opportunity to kill the blood feud of his previous life. At the thought that he would be able to see Yanglan, the culprit, Yang Chun even trembled with excitement. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling didn't worry about him. They thought that Yang Chun was happy to hear that there was a visit from a fellow villager. Whether they were close or not, they were from the same hometown. This was human nature. Seeing that Yang Lan certainly did not need other people to accompany him, Yang Chen quickly came to the Mountain Gate guest house of Chunyang Palace. Along the way, Yang Chen was wondering what kind of attitude he should use to treat Yang Lan. In any case, now that Yang Lan was visiting, he was a guest from afar. Yang Chen had to ask about the right and wrong and kill him immediately. This was the courtesy of being the master. Although Yang Chen and the Greatest Heaven sect had an irreconcilable hatred, the two countries did not kill the envoys. Now, even if Yang Lan was the envoy, let him live for a while. The other party came to the door at this time. There must be some action. Otherwise, Yang Chen's reputation was not just a day or two. How could not see Yang Lan? Yang Lan. Entering the guest house, Yang Chen saw Yang Lan drinking tea in the guest house. Although his heart had long been angry enough to want to pull out his sword and cut Yang Lan immediately, Yang Chen still suppressed this impulse. He even made a surprised look on his face. He cried with a little surprise, "Is it really you?" Compared with the surprise on Yang Chen's face, Yang Lan was more like a calm young master. He held the teacup in an elegant posture with one hand and a seemingly noble smile on his face. Then he said, "Sit." This was the guest house of Chunyang Palace, but Yang Lan put on the posture of the host. That kind of tone made Yang Chen want to laugh. "Long time no see." Yang Chen seemed to walk forward naturally and sat on the other side. Yang Lan had already sat in the main seat. The seat left for Yang Chen was naturally the guest seat. After sitting down, Yang Chen naturally greeted him, and then used a previous title, Young Master Yang. It's been a long time. Yang Lan listened to Yang Chen's title of Young Master Yang, and there was a smile on his face. This was what Yang Chen and other farmers called Yang Lan when they were in the village. Yang Lan had not heard it for a long time. Now that he heard it, it seemed to make him feel superior in the village. "I don't know young Master Yang's visit. What can I do for you?" Yang Chen also looked at Yang Lan with a smile. He wanted to see what this guy was going to do. A small sect is a small sect. Even the tea is so low level. Yang Lan took a sip of tea, then frowned and spat out the tea in his mouth. This kind of small sect has no financial resources and no masters. If you stay here, there is no future. Yang Lan very casually threw the teacup that was originally held in his hand elegantly on the table. He ignored the rolling teacup and directly ordered in the tone he was used to in the past. "Come with me. I will give you a good future." Good future? Yang Chen was already a little strange about Yang Lan's attitude. He was a guest, but he put on such a posture. What did this mean? Giving me a good future shows that there's a little intention to poach people, but there's no need to put on such a posture, right? Does he really think that he is still the young master of Yang Village, and everyone has to listen to him? Taishaman is much better than Chunyang Palace. Yang Lan had a condescending face. "Don't say that I don't take care of you. There is an opportunity now to take you into Taishaman, the world's largest sect. Go back and pack up your things, and come with me immediately." Yang Chen seemed to have guessed Yang Lan's plan. He sat steadily in the same place, and there was no intention of moving. He just squinted his eyes, looked at Yang Lan with a smile, and suddenly said, "I don't even open the conditions. Do you think I am a fool, or do you think that the elders of Taishaman are fools?" Yang Lan's eyes stared fiercely, as if with a little fire, and with some unwillingness, he stared at Yang Chen. "You actually don't intend to draw me to Taishaman, right?" Yang Chen said with a smile. "Yes." Yang Lan didn't feel embarrassed at the moment that his mind was exposed. Instead, he sat very calmly and looked at Yang Chen with a sneer. "You are a small tenant farmer. How can you have such achievements? You want to enter Taishaman? Don't dream. Then how do you explain to the people who sent you?" Yang Chen was amused by Yang Lan and laughed. He had never seen such a person. Even in his previous life, Yang Lan didn't seem to be as stupid as he was. "Explain?" Yang Lan sneered and looked at Yang Chen for a while before he said, "Explain what? It's easy. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Not only do you not give the Taishaman face, but you also curse and insult the Taishaman. All the Taishaman will regard you as an enemy of life and death, and they will kill you. How about it? Are you satisfied with this explanation?" "It sounds good." Yang Chen nodded and seemed to agree with Yang Lan's statement. Then he immediately asked, "However, there is a question I forgot to remind you. I would like to hear the details." Since Yang Lan had made his position clear, he also asked in cooperation. "I am now a Jidon stage master, and you are just a foundation establishment stage junior." Yang Chan said with a smile, "I will give you 1 day. After leaving here, run for your life immediately." Chapter 665. Yang Lan's face became very wonderful. He always thought that he could calculate Yang Chun, and even put on this posture to provoke Yang Chun. It was also because he felt that Yang Chun would be helpless against him. There was no third party present in the conversation between the two. Of course, Yang Lan could say what he wanted. He could even pretend to be more miserable and perform Yang Chen's attitude towards Taishaman more badly. All of this was in Yang Lan's calculation. Anyway, he had learned about the attitude of Taishaman towards Yang Chun from the inadvertent conversation between the sect master and the elders of Taishaman. He just wanted to try it out, especially the last sentence. In order to let Yang Chun dispel the psychological pressure of betraying the sect, he would not hesitate to destroy Chunyang Palace. According to this logic, if Yang Chun does not intend to join Taishaman, then it was estimated that there would only be one attitude. That is, if they can't get it, they would rather destroy it than leave it to others. Yang Chun, a master of alchemy, was a treasure in any sect. Maybe he could make the sect rise. This situation was not what any competitor wanted to see. If Yang Chun was just making trouble in Chunyang Palace, it was estimated that there would be no big problem. But now the news that Taishaman got was that Chunyang Palace and Blue Cloud sect have deep cooperation with the Green Jade Immortal Island. In this way, the role of Yang Chun would be more and more terrifying. It was not the style of Taishaman to sit back and watch the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect become more and more powerful. Although Yang Lan didn't leave the sect much, he also heard several of the so-called deeds of eliminating demons and defending the Tao from the mouth of the predecessors. From these stories, it was not difficult for Yang Lan to analyze the attitude of the Taishaman towards the opponents who refused to cooperate. If they couldn't win over Yang Chun, the Taishaman would definitely send people to destroy Yang Chun. They would never see that under the influence of Yang Chun, the development of the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect surpassed that of the Taishaman. Especially now that the Taishaman's vitality was greatly damaged, this kind of secretly weakening competitors would appear frequently. Yang Chun was a high-level alchemist, but since he was not a friend, he was an enemy that must be eradicated. The Taishaman didn't have to get Yang Chun, so when Yang Lan's feedback returned to the Taishaman, Yang Chun was doomed to be a dead man. This kid from a tenant family dared to be better than him. His death was not to be regretted. Yang Lan even enjoyed this process. So what if he was strong? Wasn't he still being played by me? The more Yang Lan thought about it, the more proud he was, and his mood was in a mess. This good mood lasted until Yang Chun gave him advice. But Yang Chen's words made him a little panicked. Yang Chen's cultivation base was higher than him. If Yang Chun wanted to kill him, it would only take a little effort. And Yang Lan, obviously, had not yet reached the point of ignoring life and death. I am a messenger of the Taishaman, a guest of Chunyang Palace. In panic, Yang Lan couldn't help but scream, "You can't kill me, so I will give you 1 day to escape." Yang Chun replied with a smile, sitting in the same place, but the opponent had begun to panic. This feeling made Yang Chun also enjoy it and feedback my attitude back to the Taishaman. "If you kill me, aren't you afraid of the revenge of the Taishaman?" Yang Lan finally understood that Yang Chun would not make a move on him now. His panic mood quickly calmed down, and he asked, "Whether I kill you or not, the Taishaman won't let me go, won't they?" Yang Chun laughed. He didn't expect that Yang Lan would have the intention to kill him now. In his previous life, Yang Lan was greedy. In order to snatch his own 10,000 years vermilion fruit, plus he was ambitious, so he would do that kind of thing to himself. In this life, Yang Chun confirmed that from beginning to end, Yang Chun had never provoked Yang Lan. He didn't know why it would lead to Yang Lan wanting to put himself to death. Yang Chun would not understand Yang Lan's thoughts even if he thought about it. It was just because everyone was from the same hometown, and before the practice, Yang Lan's identity was more noble than Yang Chen's. Now Yang Chen's achievements were higher than Yang Lan's, and he was more valued by the big shots. For this reason, Yang Lan had to kill Yang Chen at all costs. But this was also good. At least Yang Chen didn't have to think of any reason to pursue Yang Lan. Since you also understand, then I won't talk much nonsense. Yang Lan had Yang Chen to give him 1 day's time. He was full of confidence and immediately began to be arrogant. I would like to see if you die first or if I die first. Having said that, Yang Lan had already made up his mind. As soon as he left, he would immediately rush back to Taishimen. Even if Yang Chen was capable, it was impossible to enter the Taishimen mountain gate to kill people, right? Anyway, as long as he survived the time when Yang Chen was killed, he could swagger out. I would like to remind you of 2 points. Yang Chen still sat still, very kind, and smiled, and extended 2 fingers. I would like to hear the details. Yang Lan picked up his clothes, sat upright, and put on the elegant posture. First, Yang Chen bent a finger and looked at Yang Lan calmly and said, I am an alchemist, and I am still a senior alchemist. So what? Yang Lan didn't know if it was because of jealousy. Many things were not considered thoroughly, and he asked a very stupid question. It means that if I am willing to use a questioning inner heart pill as a reward for your head, I believe that there will be an elder-level character in Taishimen who will bring your head to me first. Yang Chen still reminded with a calm voice, but there was a hint of banter in his tone. Just now, Yang Lan's proud face lost its blood color, and he completely forgot about this. He was so jealous that he wanted to take this opportunity to kill Yang Chen, but he didn't think that Yang Chen could easily kill him even if he didn't have to do it himself. Second, Yang Chen looked at Yang Lan's frightened face, sneered in his heart, and reminded him again, I said that I would give you a day, and now it has been a stick of incense. However, if you want to put your own life on the promise that I am willing to keep, you can spend it here. Yang Lan himself was not the kind of person who could keep his promise. Anyway, he was not swearing with his heart demon, so naturally he would not value it. Listening to Yang Chen, he was even more shocked. If Yang Chen did it here, he would not even have a chance to resist. This time, Yang Lan no longer dared to sit in front of Yang Chen. He stood up and fled in a hurry. He even tripped on the low threshold at the door. After stumbling out a few steps, he stabilized his body. Without saying anything, he summoned his flying sword and flew out of the mountain gate. Chapter 666. With the shrewdness and insidiousness of Yang Lan and Yang Chen's memory, he would never make such a low-level mistake. Strictly speaking, it can only be said that the current Yang Lan has not yet grown to the point of his previous life. However, in Taishimen, Yang Lan was by no means mixed so well. At least Yang Chen knew that before Yang Lan's Jidan, he was excluded and bullied by a group of people, which led to him doing everything in order to get a higher status and cultivation base. He even gave his own sister to the young sect master as a concubine. Later, he didn't know why, but Yang Lan even killed the young sect master of Taishimen and blamed it on Yang Chen. This series of means was superb. Even the sect master of Taishimen was deceived by him. How could it be like today? Even the cause and effect were not fully considered, and he came to kill Yang Chen. Yang Chen didn't care why Yang Lan hadn't grown up yet. He just wanted Yang Lan to live in a precarious fear from today onwards. In his previous life, when Yang Chen was chased, there was no lack of such days. It was too easy for him to meet and kill Yang Lan with a sword. At least let him be afraid for 100 years, and then Yang Chen would make a move. He wanted Yang Lan to taste the pain he had suffered in his previous life, so that he could feel his hatred. Yang Chen had fantasized about how to kill Taishimen and kill Yang Lan countless times, but he never thought that one day Yang Lan would actually throw himself into the trap. He ran to Yang Chen's face and let Yang Chen bury a seed of fear for him. Perhaps this was the arrangement of God, since God let Yang Chen come again, and in such a way, he took the initiative to send Yang Lan over. It was God's will. For Yang Lan's threat, Yang Chen didn't take it to heart. It was definitely not just the greatest heaven sect who wanted to kill Yang Chen. At this point, everyone had a tacit understanding. How many talented disciples occasionally died in accidents on the way of cultivation? Many of them became unsolved mysteries, but it was usually nothing more than enemies, demons, or internal strife in the Tao sects. In his previous life, Yang Chun was used to it. In any case, Yang Chun stayed in Chunyang Palace, which was absolutely safe. This life was different from his previous life. Chunyang Palace would be destroyed. Not to mention that there were 2 Dishang stage masters and 10 Yuanying stage ancestors. Just with the cooperation with Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect, the 2 sect would never allow Chunyang Palace and Yang Chun to have an accident. If Yang Chun was afraid of death, then he would always be holed up in Chunyang Palace and not take a step out. Maybe many people were looking forward to this. But in this way, Yang Chun was actually equivalent to a waste. From ancient times to the present, there has never been a timid guy who could cultivate behind closed doors. Which of the people who could cross the tribulation and ascend was not killed in battle? If he didn't even have the courage to face some enemies or villains, how could he have the courage to face the heavenly tribulation? And it was a series of 3 kinds of heavenly tribulations. There was only one result of building a car behind closed doors. That was, there would never be the inspiration for a breakthrough. No matter how many books he read, how many insights of the predecessors he read, it was useless. Reading 10,000 books was not as good as walking 10,000 miles. This was the truth of the bumpy road. What he got from the paper was always shallow. Hiding in Chunyang Palace, maybe Yang Chun could still refine the questioning inner heart pill, and he could also refine the second great inner sensing pill. But that was all. If this was the case, the threat to the Taishaman and other sect was still limited. The Taishaman sent Yang Lan over. It must be to win him over. It was estimated that this was the idea to scare Yang Chun, and he would not dare to go out again. If Yang Chun was really not afraid of the heavens and the earth, and was alone outside, there was always a chance to capture or kill him. In any case, it was a good calculation. After scaring Yang Lan away, Yang Chun did not care about the result at all. He went directly to the palace master and reported to the palace master what had just happened. Some things had to be planned in advance by the sect. Otherwise, if they rushed to fight, they would always suffer. Hearing that the Taishaman actually sent a boy in the foundation stage to run to Chunyang Palace to calculate their own most valued disciple, even with the self-restraint of the palace master, he directly scolded him. He did not have the demeanor of a Yuanying stage ancestor, let alone the demeanor of a sect master. After scolding him, the palace master did not place Yang Chun. For Yang Chun, he had absolute confidence. In the entire sect, the disciple that the palace master was most at ease with was estimated to be Yang Chun. Even if he could not see through these bumps, he would not be Yang Chun. Of course, the sect had to arrange, but they could not make obvious signs against the Taishaman. Otherwise, the Taishaman would definitely take advantage of this and uproot the Chunyang Palace. What they were worried about now was not Chunyang Palace, but the rising Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect that were in an alliance with Chunyang Palace. With a reasonable reason, the Taishaman would definitely seize the opportunity to push Chunyang Palace into the abyss and destroy the entire alliance. Yang Chen still returned to the Immortal's cave as if nothing had happened. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling looked at Yang Chun as if nothing had happened. They did not ask and let Yang Chun continue to absorb the fire seeds. Before, Yang Chun said that he wanted to continue the spiritual awareness double cultivation with Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, and this time was not wasted. Every other month, Yang Chun would cultivate the highest mystery Yin-Yang Heart Sutra with the 2 women. The Heart Sutra could not only adjust the spiritual awareness, but could also greatly improve the conciseness of the 2 sides' spiritual awareness. It was an excellent spiritual awareness double cultivation method. With this kind of cultivation method in hand, it was a pity to waste it. For more than a year, the 2 women could also feel that their spiritual awareness was rapidly condensing. Because the spiritual awareness of Yang Chun and Gao Yu and Gong Sunling was now in a relatively balanced stage, the total amount of spiritual awareness was only growing step by step. But after every spiritual awareness double cultivation, everyone's spiritual awareness was condensed a little and became more and more stable. He didn't know how Yang Lan went back and gave feedback to the people of the Taishaman. At least so far, the Taishaman have no signs of doing anything. Of course, it was impossible to make a move at this time. It would be too obvious. Moreover, Yang Chun had been in Chunyang Palace and had not come out. Even if they wanted to make a move, there was no chance. But Yang Chun knew that the Taishaman must have listed him as a key target. In the past, he did not show that he could change the strength of the sect. Now that he had such a big role, he had to take such a big risk. If he wanted to go out in the future, he would have to be careful of the Taishaman or other sections. It would not be as easy as before. Yang Chen did not talk to his master and sister about this. He was afraid that they would worry. In Yang Chen's heart, he didn't care much about this at all. The direction of his cultivation, in fact, was doomed from the moment he stepped into the Immortal Executioner's platform. It was a road full of killing. Chapter 667. No matter how big the wind and waves outside, Yang Chen still acted according to his own rhythm. In a blink of an eye, another year passed, and the remaining fourth-grade flames were all absorbed into the profound spirit furnace. Yang Chen has already planned to start absorbing the fifth-grade flames. So far, the profound spirit furnace has absorbed no less than hundreds of mortal flames, and the entire pill furnace has changed from the crystal-clear state to another situation. It was a kind of qualitative change from complexity to simplicity. After absorbing hundreds of flames, merging all of Yang Chen's cyan crystal profound gold, and also merging many materials carefully selected by Yang Chen. After absorbing countless medicinal power, now the profound spirit furnace looked like a medicine pot used by ordinary people, ordinary, simple, and unremarkable. But it was such a profound spirit furnace. Compared with the time when it would be crystal clear, the effect was not known how many times stronger. As long as Yang Chen holds the profound spirit furnace, even if he doesn't do alchemy, he can feel that his alchemy skills are improving. The ability to control the flame is also becoming more and more skillful. No matter what kind of flame, Yang Chen is like a finger and arm, and the control of the flame is like a living flame. Along with it, Yang Chen's yin-yang heaven-burning fire also seems to be a little more active. There are still 4 kinds of fifth-grade flames in his hands. Yang Chen is hesitating whether to absorb these fire seeds first or to refine the questioning inner heart pill that he promised to Blue Cloud sect. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were speechless after knowing Yang Chen's hesitation. In the end, Gao Yu helped Yang Chen decide to absorb the fire seeds first and then alchemy. Anyway, it was only a year before and after. For these cultivators, it was not a problem at all. In accordance with his master's instructions, Yang Chen continued to absorb these 4 kinds of fifth-grade fire seeds. The fifth-grade fire seeds were the same as the Sun True Fire and the Moon True Fire, and they were also the highest-grade fire seeds in the profound spirit furnace. It took a longer time to absorb these fire seeds. Fortunately, the profound spirit furnace has now absorbed hundreds of kinds of flames, including several kinds of fifth-grade fire seeds. It only takes about 3 or 4 months to absorb a fifth-grade fire seed. Compared with the previous speed, it was several times faster. 1 year passed in a hurry, and 4 kinds of fifth-grade fire seeds were also absorbed by the profound spirit furnace. At this point, the fire seeds obtained by Yang Chen from the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island have all been absorbed into the profound spirit furnace. It is no exaggeration to say that the fire seeds below the 4th grade have been included in the profound spirit furnace, and the fire seeds above the 4th grade have also fallen into the hands of Yang Chen. At this time, if there was a competition to see who had the most fire seeds, Yang Chen would definitely come out on top. Absorbing these fire seeds was equivalent to consuming the reward given by the Blue Cloud sect in advance. Yang Chen had to refine the questioning inner heart pill for others anyway. When Yang Chen used the profound spirit furnace to start alchemy, Yang Chen really discovered how powerful the profound spirit furnace was now. When the medicinal materials were thrown into the profound spirit furnace, even without the control of Yang Chen, they would be automatically refined, and the heat was always just right, as if the profound spirit furnace had consciousness and could automatically control the heat. What made Yang Chun even more surprised was that when Yang Chun began to control the refining process, he directly started the second-grade refining and did not even need to go through the first-grade refining method of the medicinal pills. This also meant that if the alchemy was done according to the normal method, the profound spirit furnace would directly produce the second-grade spirit pill, and all the medicinal pills would be upgraded by grade. If Yang Chun carried out the second-grade refining of the medicinal pills in the original sense, it would probably be the third-grade spirit pill that came out of the profound spirit furnace. When Yang Chun was in the foundation stage, he could refine the third-grade foundation building pill, which showed that Yang Chun was already a third-grade alchemy master. Now with the enhancement of the profound spirit furnace, Yang Chun was already a fourth-grade alchemy master and could refine the fourth-grade spirit pill. The fourth-grade alchemy master in the mortal world was already the top alchemy existence. In Yang Chun's memory, he had never heard of an alchemy master who could break through the fourth-grade alchemy master when he was in the mortal world. The main force of refining the heaven-seizing pill, Dengya of the Tianchi sect, was only a fourth-grade alchemy master. It was estimated that if she could cross the tribulation and ascend, then before she crossed the tribulation and ascended, she could only be a fourth-grade alchemy master, and it would be impossible to improve. You must know that Dengya was a Yuanying stage ancestor, and Yang Chun was still only in the early Jidan stage. With the growth speed of Yang Chun in the alchemy Dao, when he reached the Yuanying stage, he would become a fourth-grade alchemy master without the help of the profound spirit furnace. At that time, Yang Chun would use the profound spirit furnace to refine the fifth-grade medicinal pill, which would definitely be an unprecedented alchemy record. There would be no one in the mortal world who had a higher achievement in the alchemy Dao than Yang Chun. For Yang Chun, this was absolutely good news. However, at this moment, Yang Chun was pleasantly surprised and somewhat helpless. Now he was refining the questioning inner heart pill, and it was also refining for the Blue Cloud sect. It was a second-grade refining at the beginning. Didn't it mean that all the second-grade pills that Yang Chun gave to the Blue Cloud sect were second-grade questioning inner heart pills? This was obviously impossible. Yang Chun had to consider the balance between the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect, so he could not favor one and discriminate against the other. Once Yang Chun made the two sect feel that he was unfair, it would not be good news for Chunyang Palace. Therefore, with a profound spirit furnace, an alchemy furnace that was close to an immortal weapon, Yang Chun not only could not exert the full power of the profound spirit furnace, but he also had to suppress and even control the profound spirit furnace. He could not refine the second-grade questioning inner heart pill, and he had to forcibly suppress the quality of the first grade. Refining this first-grade questioning inner heart pill was even harder than refining the second-grade questioning inner heart pill for Yang Chun. Fortunately, after all, the grade of the profound spirit furnace was improved, and the refining time was greatly shortened. Originally, it took 1 year and 10 months to refine the first-grade questioning inner heart pill. But this time, after Yang Chun completed the step of collecting the pills, it was only a little over a year. This was already the fourth time that Yang Chun refined the questioning inner heart pill. His technique had become more and more skillful, coupled with the strength of the profound spirit furnace. Although he had tried his best to suppress it, the questioning inner heart pill was still much better than the ordinary questioning inner heart pill. According to Yang Chun's own judgment, it should be between the effect of the first-grade questioning inner heart pill and the second-grade questioning inner heart pill. The quality of the questioning inner heart pill could already be completely reported. Even if the Green Jade Immortal Island had doubts, it could also be justified. After all, the refining technique was becoming more and more skillful. If the Green Jade Immortal Island wanted it, they could continue to cooperate with Chunyang Palace, and Yang Chun could provide the same quality questioning inner heart pill. At this point, all the things that Yang Chun needed to do in the sect had been completed. Next, whether it was collecting the 7th metal true essence or the 10th water true essence, he needed to go out. Yang Chun also needed to leave Chunyang Palace again. Chapter 668. This time, the quality of the questioning inner heart pills. In any case, before Yangshan planned to go out to gain experience, many things had to be arranged. At least the questioning inner heart pills that helped the Blue Cloud sect to refine must be handed over. Zhu Chuntao, the master of the medicinal hall, took over these questioning inner heart pills and soon discovered the abnormality of the medicinal pills. Why is there a problem? The master of the palace was shocked. If the medicinal pills of the Blue Cloud sect were broken, it would be hard to explain. Yangshan should not have made such a mistake. Did he make a mistake? No. Zhu Chuntao shook his head and carefully observed a questioning inner heart pill. This time, Yangshan's alchemy did not let him watch. Zhu Chuntao did not know what happened in the refining process, so he observed very carefully and replied casually, "It is a bit too good." Second grade? The master of the palace was relieved, and the worry in his heart was finally put down. But immediately he frowned again. If they were all second-grade questioning inner heart pills, they could not be easily handed over to the Blue Cloud sect. No, it is still a first-grade medicinal pill, but the quality is much better than that given to the Green Jade Immortal Island. After Zhu Chuntao was promoted to the Yuanying stage, the ability of his spiritual awareness to explore the quality of the medicinal pills was more skillful, and his judgment was much more accurate. After such a long period of observation, he had determined the quality of this batch of questioning inner heart pills. Listening to Zhu Qintao's judgment, the eyes of the master of the palace turned to Yangshan. Zhu Chuntao also looked over and seemed to be waiting for Yangshan to give a reasonable explanation. "Sorry, I didn't control it for a while." Yangshan faced the gaze of the two big shots. He could only explain a little helplessly, but his expression looked innocent. Yangshan's expression and words directly made the master of the palace and Zhu Qintao speechless. This level of medicinal pills. And he said that the quality was excellent because he didn't control it well. How could many alchemists endure this? If others didn't control it well, the medicinal pills would be destroyed. Yangshan's quality was actually beyond the ordinary. What was this? They were speechless, but both the master of the palace and Zhu Chuntao could understand what these medicinal pills meant. If it was done properly, Chunyang Palace would definitely get more benefits. The palace master was even looking forward to the expressions of the people of the Blue Cloud sect when they saw these medicinal pills. As for how to explain it to the Green Jade Immortal Island, it was very easy. The number of refining times, the proficiency, naturally there would be better quality, which was understandable. If the Green Jade Immortal Island wanted it, they could continue to cooperate, and Chunyang Palace would never refuse. After handing over the questioning inner heart pill to the head of the palace, Yangshan let go of one thing. At the very least, the deal with Blue Cloud sect could be considered to have been preliminarily completed. All that was left was for Chunyang Palace to receive the income in the next few decades. Next, Yangshan would consider going out to collect the 7th metal true essence and 10th water true essence. This was the key to Yangshan's great yin-yang 5 elemental formula condensing the core, so he couldn't be careless. According to normal cultivation, with the experience and perception of Yangshan's great principle golden immortal, plus many elixirs, Yangshan could not let the remaining 7 spiritual powers condense. However, if he used this method, Yangshan was bound to condense only 1 spiritual power and 1 spiritual power. Each of them was estimated to take Yangshan about 10 years. In this way, it would take 70 years to be able to condense all of them, which was what Yangshan was not willing to wait. The great yin-yang 5 elemental formula also paid attention to balance. In 70 years, the first fire attribute spiritual power to condense the core must have reached the middle Jidan stage, and the last one to condense the core was only the early Jidan stage. The difference between the Jidan stage was not as small as the foundation stage. Decades of cultivation would inevitably disrupt the balance of Yang Chen's yin and Yang 5 elements. The appearance of Yang Lan made Yang Chun understand that the high-level officials of Taishaman had made up their minds to eradicate him. This was also a pressure for Yang Chun, but it was also a motivation. Fortunately, this life was not the same as the previous life. Xunyang Palace was getting stronger and stronger. Even if the Taishaman wanted to deal with him, it was impossible to be blatant. They could only do it secretly. This was the same as Yang Chen's plan to deal with the Taishaman. For the time being, it could not be made public. However, if the other party wanted to get rid of him secretly, then they would have to bear the loss of manpower. They could not bring it to the table to talk about it. Even if he killed the other party's people openly, they could only break their teeth and swallow the blood. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling practiced very hard. After Yang Chun saw Yang Lan last time, he finally said Yang Lan's intention. The Taishaman, the behemoth, had the intention to kill Yang Chun, and the two women suddenly felt a terrible pressure. It was as if they intended to share some of the pressure for Yang Chun, and also, so that they would not become a burden to Yang Chun, they almost went crazy in their cultivation. In this regard, Yang Chun has persuaded them many times. Haste makes waste, but the two women have never been able to relax easily. Yang Chun can only let the two women go crazy. This time, when Yang Chun went out, he must prepare the life source flying sword for the two women. The rare materials obtained from the banyan tree Immortal's cave, Yang Chun gave them to his master. She was a master of refining. With these things to practice, she could definitely improve her level quickly. Before leaving, Yang Chun did not forget to go to his master ancestor Wang Yong. On the one hand, he asked the master ancestor to pay more attention to the safety of Gao Yu. On the other hand, he asked the master ancestor for the body of the second city lord that he promised to refine for Gao Yu. The body of the second city lord has now been refined into a flying eagle puppet, but there is still one last step to complete. After Wang Yong was promoted to the Deshang stage, he did not do anything else. He was trying his best to refine this flying eagle puppet. He also knew that this was the last card that Yang Chun prepared for Gao Yu, and he was very careful. In fact, Wang Yong, after discovering that Yang Chun could refine the second-grade inner-sensing pill, understood that his own grand disciple, who was so talented in the alchemy path, would definitely cause many people's worries and dissatisfaction. Wang Yong, who was already a master of the Deshang stage, knew the cruelty of the cultivation world better than anyone, so he was also trying his best to save Yang Chun from future troubles. There are always many challenges to face in cultivation. Wang Yong's attitude towards Yang Chun was far more free and easy than that of Gao Yu and Gong Sunling. Without going through tempering, it would never be possible to become a great tool. No ascending master's path of cultivation was smooth. Wang Yong almost never worried about the safety of Yang Chun. The speed of his shuttle was something that Wang Yong had personally seen. If he couldn't beat it, he could always escape. Moreover, a powerful guy like the second city lord would only die against Yang Chun. Other people believed that they would not let Yang Chun be in too much danger. The people of Taishaman have always been arrogant. If you meet them on certain occasions, don't hold back. Wang Yong passed the Yin fire tribulation and his temperament changed greatly. Not only was he more confident in his cultivation, but he was also the same in dealing with threats. No matter what, you just have to remember that the sect will always stand behind you. Remember firmly, we are not afraid of anyone, including the Taishaman. Chapter 669. When they left, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling just sent Yang Chun in the Immortal's cave and did not follow Yang Chun out. They knew that Yang Chun could not always stay in Xunyang Palace like a coward and never come out. Yang Chun did not drive the shuttle to fly away quickly at the beginning, but first flew to the market of Meiqing Mountain with a flying sword. Here, the first thing Yang Chun did was to send a message to certain channels through Shanghai phone to buy Yang Lan's head with a gene of high-grade spirit stones. Yang Lan was just a guy in the late foundation stage. A gene of high-grade spirit stones had exceeded the limit of the bounty for the masters of the foundation stage. Presumably, there would be many guys interested in this business. Although it was absolutely easy to get Yang Lan's head with the questioning inner heart pill, it was too cheap for him. Only with this price beyond the general market. Let Yang Lan live in fear of being hunted down and spend every day in fear. Yang Chen's appearance in the market was seen by many people, but it was still within the scope of Meiqing Mountain, the territory of Xunyang Palace. This time was different from the past. no one dared to behave atrociously in the territory of Chunyang Palace. The anger of two masters of the Deshang stage was not something that anyone could bear. It was a very contradictory thing. No one dared to do anything to Chunyang Palace on the surface, but many people secretly went out to find the most powerful alchemist in Chunyang Palace. This was the reality. It was never the same as on the surface. When Yang Chun left Meiqing Mountain with the flying sword, it was not known how many eyes were staring in the direction of his departure. It was not until his figure disappeared into the sky that many people slowly retracted their eyes. Just when Yang Chun planned to adjust the direction and summon the shuttle to fly to the demonic sect control place, where Tai-Bai Jinxing left the seventh metal true essence, he had been wrapped with his spiritual awareness. The tracking spiritual awareness imprint hidden in his sea of consciousness suddenly flashed strangely. With the current strength of Yang Chen's sea of consciousness and the condensing of his spiritual consciousness, the wrapped spiritual consciousness imprint could actually flash. This was not something an ordinary person could do. This group of divine sense imprint was left by someone when Yang Chun went to the Dragon Palace treasure house last time. At that time, Yang Chun constantly threw some things with spiritual awareness markings into the ocean, causing a group of people to hit walls everywhere. Finally, they were easily beheaded by Yang Chun after he came out of the treasure house. Keeping the only spiritual awareness imprint, Yang Chun intended to use it to track the other party after his strength improved, but he did not expect it to respond now. The spiritual awareness imprint that could react under the wrapping of Yang Chen's early Deshang stage spiritual awareness must also be that the owner of the spiritual awareness imprint got the help of a Deshang stage master. One of the spiritual sense marks left behind in the past had mysteriously disappeared. No matter who it was, they would definitely track it down. Yang Chun had dragged it on for too long and had almost forgotten about this matter. Unexpectedly, the other party actually started to make this mark in the vicinity of Meiqing Mountain. There was a master of the Deshang stage involved, or there was a master whose spiritual awareness had reached the Deshang stage. Only those with a similar level of Yang Chen's spiritual awareness could cause the spiritual awareness imprint to tremble. Since the other party came to the door, of course, Yang Chun would not be polite, and it was still the same old trick. Because of the existence of the shuttle in the sea, it could almost be said that it was Yang Chen's home field. Yang Chun immediately changed his direction. The other party had suffered a big loss in the sea last time. Presumably this time, they would be prepared for it. But Yang Chun was not afraid at all. The other party seemed to be very well prepared. However, it was impossible to know his destination only by relying on the spiritual awareness imprint. Where to go could only be decided by Yang Chun. Since the spiritual awareness imprint could vibrate once, it meant that the other party had once again stared at Yang Chun. Yang Chun was not afraid that the other party would lose him. He called out the shuttle, found a direction at random, and flew at full speed, letting the other party know his destination and arrange in advance. This was not Yang Chen's style. It was necessary to use the high speed of the shuttle to play with these tracking guys and lead them to the final battlefield. As soon as he came out of his retreat for alchemy, there was this opportunity. Yang Chun was eager to move his muscles and bones. Randomly chosen in the direction, Yang Chun did not have any specific goal. It was just that after 2 hours, the spiritual awareness imprint vibrated again. The vibration was very slight, but in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, it was very clear. The other party was not close to himself, at least 1,000 miles behind. Yang Chen didn't know what the other party was going to do to catch up with him, but this was not within his consideration. After flying straight for almost 3 or 5 days, Yang Chen changed his direction very casually. This happened 3 or 5 times. After half a month, even Yang Chen didn't know where the front might be, let alone the guys who were tracking him. However, the other party obviously intended to track Yang Chen. Along the way, the spiritual awareness imprint would vibrate once every half a day, and the vibration was stronger and stronger. Yang Chen didn't know what was the reason for this. Could it be that the strength of the guy who was tracking him was still improving? Unable to understand, Yang Chen simply didn't think much about it, just focused on flying forward. On the way forward, Yang Chun has been in the shuttle and did not neglect his cultivation. He leisurely controlled the fire seed in a profound spirit furnace, separated a trace of the third-grade fire seed, and let the yin-yang heaven-burning fire merge. A month's time was enough for Yang Chun to merge and swallow another kind of third-grade fire seed, and the yin-yang heaven-burning fire grew a bit stronger. After 4 or 5 consecutive changes, Yang Chun finally determined the direction and then rushed towards the sea. But this time it was not the direction of the East China Sea, but the direction of the South China Sea. There was no stop along the way. This time, after choosing the direction, he never changed it again. A month later, Yang Chun's shuttle rushed to the South China Sea. When he arrived at the seaside, Yang Chun didn't mean to stop at all. The shuttle plunged into the sea and went straight to the bottom of the sea. It turned slightly westward at the bottom of the sea and quickly swam towards the depths of the sea. Less than half an hour after Yang Chun entered the sea, there was a boat-shaped magic weapon that appeared on the seaside. This magic weapon was very big. It looked like a pointed sailboat. It fell on the sea without stopping and chased Yang Chun in the direction of the wind and lightning. Even on the sea, the sailboat still maintained an amazing speed. If Yang Chun saw it, he would be surprised. The speed of this sailboat was not slower than Yang Chun's shuttle, and it could almost keep pace with it. In the cabin of the sailboat, there were a few figures sitting motionless. The brawny man in the center looked at a compass in front of him, and the pointer of the compass pointed in the direction of Yang Chun. He thinks that he is the only one with a flying magic weapon. Humph! This time I will let him die without a burial place. After looking at the compass, the brawny man suddenly snorted coldly and waved his hands. A pair of crystal-clear wings suddenly appeared and became bigger and flew outside the cabin and fixed on the side of the ship. The wings suddenly flapped, and the speed of the sailboat was almost doubled, catching up with Yang Chun. Chapter 670. Yang Chun on the bottom of the sea did not expect that the other party still had such a trick. For so many years, Yang Chun relied on the shuttle obtained from the Dragon Palace treasure house to travel around. Guan Yueying and Luo Yuan were all taught a lesson because of the shuttle. Luo Yuan even lost his life because he couldn't catch up with Yang Chun. When driving the shuttle, those who could catch up with Yang Chun only met once, and that was the second city master who was a goshawk. With the cultivation base of the Deshang stage, he was a flying monster, and his speed was very fast, but if he caught up, he would only end up with a grievance on the spot. These made Yang Chun and the people of Chunyang Palace have unusual confidence in Yang Chun's shuttle. It seemed that as long as Yang Chun had the shuttle in his hand, it was impossible for others to catch up with him. Everyone felt that it was impossible for others to catch up with Yang Chun in the shuttle, and Yang Chun himself seemed to have forgotten that although the shuttle was taken from the Dragon Palace treasure house and the grade was very high, the current shuttle had not reached its limit, but it was closely related to Yang Chun's cultivation base. The cultivation base of a Jidan stage could only play a part of the speed of the shuttle, not all of it. Yang Chun, who was swimming fast on the bottom of the sea, did not notice that a sailboat with wings on the sea was breaking the waves. With a speed that was nearly twice that of the shuttle, it was catching up with him at a rapid speed. Letting the other party follow in circles for more than a month was to make the other party unable to determine his destination and unable to set traps in advance. When he came to the sea, it was basically Yang Chun who had the final say. If it weren't for the fact that this old man's water-dividing wings can't be added to the ship in the air, I would have caught up with this little beast. On the sailboat, watching the pointer on the compass swing faster and faster, the owner of the wings sneered again and again, "Do you really think that the sea is your world?" Several people sitting next to him also slowly stood up at this moment and began to prepare for the next battle. Their goal this time was very clear. They wanted to catch Yang Chun or kill him. They could not let Yang Chun return to Chunyang Palace. A few months ago, Taishaman received secret news that the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud Sect had made a deal with Chunyang Palace and exchanged dozens of questioning inner heart pills from Chunyang Palace at a high price. This news shocked the top leaders of Taishaman. Under the circumstances that the Teichman Mountain Gate was blown up and their vitality was greatly damaged, the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect got dozens of questioning inner heart pills. What does this mean? It was scary to think about it. If this situation was allowed to continue, it would not take many years for the title of the #1 sect in Dao sect to change hands. There had never been a moment when these higher-ups of Teichman had longed for a high-level alchemist like Yang Chun. If the guy who was responsible for picking up the disciples did not throw Yang Chun out of the mountain gate, how good would it be? Unfortunately, everything was too late now. The news that Yang Lan brought back showed that Yang Chun did not know how to appreciate favors, and he also scolded the Teichman for their hypocrisy. It was obviously impossible to let Yang Chun take the initiative to surrender, so the remaining thing was either to capture Yang Chun alive and force him to make alchemy for the sect, or to kill him and never have any future troubles. But no matter which one it was, there was a premise that was to try to get a certain alchemy scripture or alchemy secret book from Yang Chun as much as possible. A guy who could refine the heaven-seizing pill in the foundation stage could never be born with it. The only explanation was that Yang Chun had a fortuitous encounter and got a powerful alchemy secret book. Otherwise, it was impossible to explain his monstrous performance. This secret book must have been found in countless miscellaneous books, and the Teichman were convinced of this. Yang Chen's habit of reading miscellaneous books had long been well known. There must be such a book that made Yang Chun have such a heaven-defying alchemy level. The Teichman sent a strong lineup this time. Last time, they just randomly sent a few chess pieces in the peripheral Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and they were all killed by Yang Chun. This time, the Teichman attached great importance to it, and all the Yuanying stage masters were sent. For Yang Chen's combat effectiveness, to be honest, the Teichman did not care much. Yang Chun was powerful. Even if he could kill Li Qingchun in the late foundation stage, it was just a small fight. Maybe it was with the help of some kind of powerful medicinal pill. No matter how powerful a person was, after all, it was limited, but Yang Chen's medicinal pill was equivalent to dozens of masters, which was what made the Teichman most afraid. 6 Yuanying stage masters, in the view of the Teichman, were more than enough to deal with Yang Chun. Not only that, but there were also 2 magic weapons refined by the masters of the Deshang stage. One was a tracking compass, which was dedicated to tracking the spiritual awareness imprint of a certain guy. The other was the sailboat that everyone was riding on. This was a little famous magic weapon of the Teichman, but the reputation was only spread within the Teichman sect, and it did not spread out. The sailboat was just fast, and there were no other advantages, and others would not pay too much attention to it. However, if this sailboat was coupled with the wings of the strong man, it could more than double the speed of the sailboat on the sea. This was the trump card of the Teichman this time. Triggering the vibration of the spiritual awareness imprint could also be regarded as a warning to these guys, and actively let Yang Chun discover that they were tracking. They have analyzed several actions of Yang Chun. Whether he was chased by killers or chased by Luo Yuan, Yang Chun liked to run to the sea, and eventually Yang Chun would return to the sea. It was estimated that Yang Chun never dreamed that the enemy had studied him so thoroughly and even calculated his final destination. Anyway, as long as he reached the sea, the speed that Yang Chun was proud of could no longer be relied on. In the face of the pursuit of 5 Yuanying stage ancestors with water spiritual roots and a Yuanying stage ancestor with spiritual roots, it was absolutely impossible for him to go to heaven or to go to hell. Water restrains fire. Yang Chen's fire attribute spirit root was naturally restrained by the water attribute spirit root. 5 Yuanying stage masters, it was estimated that they could eat Yang Chun without leaving any residue. At first, Yang Chun just buried his head on the road, intending to find some powerful monsters on the way and repeat the same trick, but he did not expect the speed of the enemy to be so fast. As soon as the sailboat entered the scope of Yang Chen's spiritual awareness exploration, Yang Chen noticed the existence of the sailboat, but he could not know how many people were in the sailboat. This sailboat was effectively shielded against the exploration of the spiritual awareness. At this time, Yang Chen was already thousands of miles away at the bottom of the sea, no matter how to escape, it was already a little too late. The speed of the other party was far beyond the shuttle, in the sky and in the ground. Yang Chun had no possibility of escaping. In less than an hour, the sailboat had already reached the top of Yang Chun. Looking at Yang Chen's futile attempts to escape in all directions, the leading strong man issued a burst of contemptuous laughter. When you get to the sea, everything is not up to you. After saying this, the strong man waved his hand and told the other 5 masters, set up the formation. Chapter 671. The 5 Yuanying stage ancestors, almost in unison, each took a handful of formation flags and instantly threw them into the sea. The 5 of them simultaneously injected their spiritual power. The moment the 5 formation flags touched the surface of the sea, in an instant, the sea within a radius of 100 miles was directly surrounded by thick fog. The sea, which originally had some waves, suddenly calmed down, and there were no longer any waves rolling. Yang Chun, who was looking for a chance to escape, suddenly felt that the speed had suddenly slowed down, and his heart was slightly shocked. His spiritual awareness immediately discovered that the surrounding seawater seemed to have suddenly turned into ice, and the entire shuttle was frozen in it. Although the shuttle could still maintain a certain speed in the ice, it could no longer reach half of the initial speed. At this point, Yang Chen no longer had the possibility of escaping. Although this formation was not very lethal, even if Yang Chen used the sea-pouring Jasper Cup, it was impossible to escape from the formation. In order to trap Yang Chen, the Taishaman took great pains this time and even specially refined this set of sea-sealing flags. The sudden change made Yang Chen shocked. The shuttle was put away, and people had already appeared in the sea. The flame of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire instantly wrapped his whole body, and he quickly flew towards the sea. Although the current yin-yang heaven-burning fire was still very weak, this degree of freezing could not compete with the yin-yang heaven-burning fire at all. The other party just cut off the possibility of his escape, and the real trump card was still the 5 water spirit root Yuanying stage ancestors. As soon as he came out of the sailboat, Yang Chun found the figures of the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors. The reason why he flew to the sea was that he knew that in the sea, unless he used the bloody river, he was not the opponent of the 5 water attribute Yuanying stage ancestors. In the air, there might be a fight. For Yang Chen's plan, the 6 Yuanying stage ancestors who were chasing him did not care at all. In their view, 6 against 1 was already a great advantage. This was not considering that the 6 of them were collectively higher than Yang Chun. There was no possibility of failure to deal with a little guy who had just condensed his core for 20 or 30 years. This time, the calculation was thorough, and the combat effectiveness of Yang Chun and the magic weapon owned by the Taishaman were calculated. The shuttle was now scrapped. Yang Chun originally had a wood attribute flying sword, which killed the old devil Lin Changhe, but was not compatible with his own attribute, and the power would not be too great. Galyu refined a bright ray sword for Yang Chun, which was the best flying sword for Yang Chun now, but compared to the 3 life source magic weapons of Lu Wei and the Yuanying stage ancestors, it was nothing at all. The reason why there were only 3 life source magic weapons was that 3 of them lost their life source flying swords near the Pure Yang Palace last time and have not been found. Yuanying stage ancestors' magic weapons were Yang Chun could not find them of Yang of. Apart from that, Yang Chun had no more combat magic weapons. At least these Yuanying stage masters of the Taishaman thought so. Moreover, Yang Chen's current unreasonably strong body was estimated to be caused by some kind of lousy body refining technique. A body refining technique that could change the body shape like this. How advanced could it be? It was no wonder that Yang Chun had always given people the feeling that he would not easily make a move. Therefore, the enemies who really understood Yang Chen's power had already died. These people who judged Yang Chen's magic weapon based on accurate information were bound to make mistakes. Yang Chen's figure soon reached the surface of the sea. On the sea, the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors each occupied a direction and surrounded Yang Chen in the middle, but they were not in a hurry to make a move. The role of the sea calming flag array was not only to freeze the ocean, but also to freeze the speed of Yang Chun within the range of the flag array. The clothes of the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors had countless talismans that could offset the shackles of the flag array, but Yang Chun did not have this kind of clothes, so he could only be restrained by the array. Yang Chun, I will give you a chance. My sect is thirsty for talents. As long as you surrender, we will not do anything to you. The strong Yuanying stage man, standing on the sailboat and flying in the air, looked at Yang Chun appearing in the encirclement and said coldly, "Less nonsense." Yang Chun screamed, but his eyes were fixed on the 5 people around him, as if he was afraid that they would suddenly make a move. "If you don't want face, then go to hell." The strong man's face did not even change. It seemed that he had already expected Yang Chun to say this. The persuasion just now was just a routine. He did not intend to let Yang Chun live at all. The 5 Yuanying stage ancestors on the sea seemed to have received an order, and the 5 flying swords uniformly attacked Yang Chun in the middle. Yang Chun did not dare to be arrogant. With a move of his mind, the golden bell almost penetrated his body, condensed outside his body, and tightly protected Yang Chun. Just in the blink of an eye, the 5 flying swords had already cut on the golden bell. Buzz, a heavy bell sound came from the golden bell and sounded leisurely beside Yang Chun. To Yang Chun's surprise, the situation where the few guys who besieged him were shocked by the golden bell did not happen. The 5 flags suddenly trembled at the moment when the bell sounded, and an invisible barrier directly protected the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors. The frozen sea under Yang Chun's feet suddenly turned into ice powder, and a thick layer was directly shattered by the bell sound. However, the trembling of the flag has not stopped, and the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors have not been hurt at all, as if all the bell attacks have been converted to the ice by the flag. The shuttle and the golden bell, the 2 magic weapons that have been tried and tested hundreds of times, unexpectedly all had problems today. It had to be said that the other party's preparation was really thorough, which made Yang Chun very surprised. However, what was even more surprising was the enemy of Yang Chun. The power of the sea suppression flag array they knew better than anyone. The array that the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors could drive together almost collapsed under the bell sound of Yang Chun. If it weren't for the fact that everyone immediately stabilized their position, maybe the array would have been broken by Yang Chun. Even the burly man who had been staying on the sailboat had a shocked expression on his face. The sailboat itself had the power of protection, but when the bell rang, he almost couldn't control the sailboat. What the hell was this golden bell? It was so powerful. The flying sword of the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors could not hurt Yang Chun. There was a hint of greed in the eyes of the strong man. Such a magic weapon, if it was his own life source magic weapon, how good would that be? This array was really annoying several times in a row, so that Yang Chun was very dissatisfied with this sea suppression flag array. Without thinking about it, he immediately stimulated his spiritual power, and the bell sounded again, spreading in all directions. Yang Chun did not believe that the other party's array could be so powerful that it could resist the attack of the bell. They did not expect that Yang Chun would have such a powerful attack. The 5 Yuanying stage ancestors did not care about attacking Yang Chun, and fully mobilized their spiritual power to defend. Although Yang Chun's bell attack was fierce, it consumed spiritual power. With the 5 people working together, even if they were tired, they could also make Yang Chun tired. Chapter 672. It had to be said that this formation was very suitable for besieging people. Especially in the ocean, it was also driven by 5 Yuanying stage masters with water spirit roots. Even if Yang Chun's golden bell was more damaging to the spiritual awareness, almost all of the attack of the bell was absorbed by the formation. Within the scope of the Nuwa formation, there were broken ice everywhere, but the 5 people were not hurt at all. From the perspective of spiritual power alone, the 5 Yuanying stage masters have far exceeded the level of spiritual power of Yang Chun. What's more, when it comes to the realm, they are all higher than Yang Chun. In a confrontation of this level, the formation formed by the 5 of them firmly held the upper hand. However, it did not mean that Yang Chun was completely powerless. After all, the Golden Bell was a fine product from the treasure house of the Dragon Palace, and it was not ordinary. Although the 5 people relied on the formation to block the bell attack of Yang Chun, they were no longer able to attack, and the 2 sides were in a stalemate. It wasn't that the 5 people didn't want to attack, but someone among them was a little distracted, and they were immediately hit by the pervasive bell. Just a little bit out of the protection of the formation, they immediately tasted the feeling of almost having their souls severely damaged. Under the great shock, who dared to be distracted again? The formation restrained all the attacks of the bell, so the brawny man on the sailboat outside the formation did not suffer any damage. From the beginning of the attack, he controlled the sailboat to fly into the air. He was the commander-in-chief of this attack, but seeing that the 5 Yuanying stage masters and a sea-sealing flag array could not do anything to Yang Chun, a little Jidan stage junior, he couldn't help but frown. Outside the formation, the brawny man could certainly see that Yang Chun didn't know where he got a golden bell magic weapon that they didn't know in advance. It had a strong attack power, and now he was in a stalemate with the 5 people, and the 2 sides could not do anything to each other. Seeing this situation happen, the brawny man certainly would not tolerate it. The 6 Yuanying stage ancestors had to work so hard to deal with a Jidan stage master. Although it was said that Yang Chun could only be trapped by the formation and he could not escape, even killing Yang Chun required the assistance of the formation, and if it could not be done, then it would be a shame. The moment he furrowed his brows, a flying sword appeared beside him. In the blink of an eye, the flying sword silently slashed towards Yang Chun, who was in the middle of the formation. Yang Chun was currently dealing with the siege of 5 people, so he definitely couldn't withstand another person's sudden attack. The flying sword flew very fast. With a whoosh, it arrived above Yang Chun's head. However, Yang Chun in the formation seemed to have expected it, and there was a flying sword in his hand, which was the bright ray sword that everyone knew. What was strange was that Yang Chun did not use his flying sword to defend himself. Instead, he held the flying sword in his hand. When the flying sword of the brawny man approached, Yang Chun waved his sword to block. Ding, buzz, there was a soft sound. It was the sound of Yang Chun waving his sword to block the flying sword of the brawny man, and the buzzing sound was when Yang Chun received the attack of the other party's flying sword. At the same time, his spiritual power surged and the golden bell in his body rang. The bell sounded just at the moment when Yang Chun's bright ray sword and the flying sword of the brawny man met. The melodious bell sound directly passed to the ears of the brawny man through the intersection of the 2 swords. If the brawny man had been outside the formation, in a short time, Yang Chun really couldn't do anything to him. However, he couldn't wait at this time and took the initiative to launch an attack. It was simply a stupid thing to use the spiritual awareness to control the sword in the attack range of Yang Chun's bell. Boom! The brawny man only felt that the moment when the 2 swords intersected, his mind seemed to suddenly explode a huge bomb, and his mind was blank. The flying sword lost control when the bell sounded and fell directly into the formation. The brawny man was on the sailboat, but he seemed to have fallen into a coma. For a while, he could no longer control the sailboat and the wings. The 2 magic weapons lost the control of their owners and began to slowly fall from the air. The 5 Yuanying stage cultivators in the sea-sealing flag array were shocked. While trying their best to maintain the formation to resist Yang Chun's attack, they couldn't help but scold the stupidity of the brawny man. In this situation where the number of people in the realm were superior, he still wanted to intervene at will. If he didn't figure out the situation, he would end up like this. There was no way. Although a few of them relied on the power of the formation to block the attack of the Golden Bell, they could only do their best, and there was no spare power to inform the brawny man. With a wrong judgment, the brawny man paid a heavy price. However, the attack of the brawny man was not without any effect. By the time Yang Chun resisted the flying sword of the brawny man, the 5 flags of the sea-sealing flag array had shrunk a lot toward the center of the crowd. The scope of the array map was also reduced by more than half. The shrinking of the scope of the array map meant an increase in power and a decrease in control power for the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors. But for Yang Chun, it was not so wonderful. The most important thing was that after the defense of the formation was enhanced, he could already start a fight back. The attack of the Golden Bell had been completely bound in the formation, and even the ice under his feet could only be broken in a small area. There was no way. Now Yang Chun couldn't go deep into the sacrificial refining of the Golden Bell, and he couldn't effectively improve the attack of the Golden Bell. There was only this single method. Fortunately, the powerful body protection function of the Golden Bell. Even if Yang Chun was attacked in the formation, it only made Yang Chun retreat for a while, but his body would not be injured. If he controlled it well, Yang Chun could also use the other party's attack to shake the Golden Bell to fight back. However, the other party soon discovered this, and his attacks became more unpredictable. They would never make a move at the same time to give Yang Chun the greatest counterattack. Everyone took advantage of the counterattack of the Golden Bell, driven by the attack of their companions to attack Yang Chun. The Golden Bell fully protected Yang Chun, and the sound was not as powerful as it was at the beginning. Seeing that this method worked, the 5 people were happy for a while, and regardless of the sailboat in the sky that was slowly falling, they fully controlled the formation flag, while mobilizing the formation to attack Yang Chun, while shrinking the scope of the formation. The formation was getting smaller and smaller, and it had been concentrated within 100 feet. The distance between the 5 people was getting closer and closer, but the power of the formation was getting greater and greater. Inadvertently, Yang Chun had been unable to fight back, and the Golden Bell was dealing with the attack of the formation with all its strength, but it could no longer ring the Golden Bell to fight back. Seeing that Yang Chun had begun to struggle and was in a mess, the 5 people finally showed a gratified smile. The biggest purpose of this trip could be completed. Maybe they didn't have to kill him first, but they could also capture Yang Chun alive. You must know that a living person is more meritorious than a dead person. No one cared about the situation of the strong man. He was just fainted by the Golden Bell. Anyway, there was the protection of the sailboat. There would be no problem landing on the sea. As long as they caught Yang Chun, it would not be too late to treat him. Yang Chun resisted very hard, but it didn't help. Soon, the formation was constrained to a radius of 30 feet, and Yang Chun had to be exhausted to resist the attack of the formation. Chapter 673. The formation of the 5 people could only trap Yang Chun. If the 6th person didn't intervene, maybe it could only be a stalemate. Although the attack of the strong man caused his own spiritual awareness to be injured, it reversed the situation of the stalemate between the 2 sides, and Yang Chun became precarious. Seeing that the scope of the formation was getting smaller and smaller, Yang Chun could not launch a fierce attack at all, and the mood of the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors quickly became better. On the sea, the water spiritual power was abundant. As long as they were willing, they could replenish it at any time. Even the spiritual power consumption caused by Yang Chun's attack could be recovered after a while. Above the sea, it was simply the home field of these water spirit root cultivators. No matter how great Yang Chun's ability was, he could only die here today. In the grinning of the 5 masters, Yang Chun had turned into a trapped lamb in the eyes of everyone, and he was no longer able to resist. So weak, it seems that apart from this magic weapon for protection and the shuttle for escape, there was no other means of attack that could be taken out. They simply didn't know how the genius disciple Li Qingchen was broken in his hands. The 5 masters sent by Teiximan were not the leopard-headed Yuanying stage monster race that Yang Chun encountered in the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave. They were almost able to compete with Shi Kuei and Xie Sha. The guys in the Immortal's cave did not experience the instinctive sharpening. They just relied on the abundant spiritual power in the Immortal's cave and the systematic cultivation method to cultivate to the Yuanying stage. They didn't know how many streets they were worse than Shi Kuei and Xie Sha. Such a powerful lineup, used to deal with Yang Chun, has already given enough face to Yang Chun, and also reflects the determination of Teiximan. This time, they must put Yang Chun to death without mercy. The formation was compressed again, and the 5 masters had already been within 10 feet of Yang Chun. At such a close distance, no matter how powerful Yang Chun was, he could not break through the shackles of the sea-sealing flag array. The large-scale flag array could make the speed of the shuttle drop sharply. At this point, even moving a few steps was almost an extravagant hope. The invisible force almost tightly blocked the entire space. Not only Yang Chun, but even the 5 Yuanying stage masters did not dare to move at all. In such a small space, if he moved carelessly, it would affect the array formation. Now that there was no strong man controlling the sailboat, Yang Chun might slip away. Fortunately, the current situation was basically settled. Yang Chun was just a trapped beast. Under the joint attack of the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors, he could not hold on for a long time. It was better to be safe. Everything looked perfect. Even if the strong man was injured, Yang Chun would not be able to struggle. There was no better ending than this. When they thought that regardless of whether Yang Chun surrendered or was killed, the bell-shaped magic treasure that could resist them for so long would become the spoils of war, everyone felt a wave of excitement. Of course, the most tempting thing was the possibility that Yang Chun might have some pills on him. No one would believe that a person who has refined dozens of questioning inner heart pills would not keep a few on him. Not to mention far away, Yang Chen's own master ancestor, Wang Yong, has just recently been promoted to the Deshang stage. The living example was in front of them, and everyone couldn't help but be envious. The array formation seemed to have reached its minimum size, and it was unlikely to shrink again. The array controlled by 5 people needed to leave a place for everyone to move around. A radius of 10 feet was already the limit. Everyone's heart was settled, and when they felt that the result was only a matter of time, Yang Chen's face suddenly showed a smile. As soon as this smile came out, it suddenly made a few Yuanying stage ancestors have a bad feeling. But what was wrong, they couldn't say for a while. Finally, you were close. With the words of Yang Chun, around everyone, hundreds of head-sized things suddenly appeared. There were no less than 100 things around each person. Thunder. One of the Yuanying stage ancestors had a keen eye and immediately recognized these suspended things. However, he only had time to utter a single word before the hundreds of items exploded in unison. Countless lightning bolts suddenly filled the entire area. Everyone's body was covered by hundreds of thick lightning bolts. The intense light made it so that no one could open their eyes and see what was happening. Outside of Yang Chen's body, there was suddenly a shadow of the golden bell, covering Yang Chen's whole body, and Yang Chen's yellow turban strongman body refining technique was also pushed to the extreme, the mountain-picking realm of the body refining technique. The skin's protective power was raised to the highest. Not only that, at this moment, the dome also appeared outside of Yang Chen's body, wrapping Yang Chun and the golden bell in it. The dome, which had been refined by the 7th metal true essence, showed the strongest defensive state at this moment. In a rumbling sound, not only the 5 Yuanying stage ancestors, but even the periphery of Yang Chun was also covered with thunder. The dome at this moment seemed to be incarnated into a huge torch, emitting a dazzling light. These head-sized things were clearly the thunder pomegranates that Yang Chun absorbed enough thunder when he cracked the 7-star heavenly thunder formation in the 100,000 mountains last time. A thunder pomegranate was enough to absorb more than half of the power of Su Qingxin's 9th thunder tribulation. Hundreds of thunder pomegranates exploded at the same time. The power contained was released. The power could be imagined. Of the 5 Yuanying stage masters, except for the guy who recognized the thunder pomegranate, the other 4 didn't even make a sound. Under the baptism of more than 100 thunder lights, they directly turned into powder and disappeared without a trace. Even if they have already passed the thunder tribulation, but in the face of the power of hundreds of 9th thunder tribulations, they still did not have the slightest resistance. Even if there was a formation flag to protect them, it only slightly delayed the time of the thunder light outbreak. It did not help. In an instant, the sea suppression flag array, which had just been tightly closed, disappeared from the sea surface, and the frozen sea surface also returned to normal at this moment. The dome in the middle seemed to have undergone some baptism. At this moment, there was a dark red color, and the hot gas was emitted. It seemed that this attack had heated the dome to an extremely high temperature. Suddenly, the domed hull sank into the sea, and white steam rose from the surface of the sea, covering the surroundings tightly. Amidst the white mist, a deep golden bell rang out again. Buzz, the sea seemed to be hit by a giant hammer, and a big pit fell, and then slowly returned to normal. However, a huge ripple followed the waves and spread wildly to the distance. Yang Chen's figure appeared in the middle of the steaming white gas, still holding a flying sword in his hand. His body flickered, and he had already come to the front of the sailboat with wings. He jumped gently and boarded the sailboat, standing in front of the head of the unconscious strong man.